Call to order the City Council business meeting for the City of Palm Coast. We are currently in the Palm Coast Community wing of the City Hall. It's approximately 6 p.m., December 3rd, 2024. If you would, please stand and join me in a Pledge of Allegiance and a short moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you could, Ms. Cook, please roll call.
Mayor Norris.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pontieri.
Present.
Councilmember Gambaro.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay, there's going to be a slight change to the agenda. We don't have anyone here from the Yacht Club. The president of the Yacht Club is currently sick. So we're going to move into the presentations of certificates to the graduating students of the City of Palm Coast Citizens Academy Class 56? 56? Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Hi. My name is Shannon, and I am with the Communications and Marketing Department with the City of Palm Coast. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for sharing your time with me and with each other. And this was a unique academy because we had to reschedule for Hurricane Milton, and I really appreciate your guys' patience with that, and just congratulations on completing the course. Really great job. Joseph Benny. Kathleen Brady. Thanks. Joanne Campbell. Geraldine Casarella. Oh, the back of that pin came out. Here. No problem. Here's the back of your pin. I don't want you to get poked. Gina DeSantis. Michael Flanagan. Rosa Fregosa. Oh. Donna Harkins. Mahogany Marfan. Cornelia Downing Manfrey. Francine Martin. Kenneth McGevna. No problem. Christine Paris. Harold Sankey. Jane Santee. Christina Ozun. Phyllis Van Reeth. Kathleen Vining. Lynn Wade. And the Wapel Horsts are not here in attendance, but I will get their certificates to them. All right, thank you guys so much and congratulations.
The alumni group told me to make sure that you guys stay actively involved and work with them to continue pushing forward in the community and helping out as much as possible. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to item E, public participation. I really don't want to read this entire thing, but I will, unless someone, well, I'll just read it. Public participation shall be held in accordance with Section 286.01146 Florida statute and pursuant to the City Council's meeting policies and procedure. Each speaker shall at the podium provide their name and may speak up to 3 minutes. The public may provide public comments to the City Council relevant to matters not on the agenda at the time indicated on the agenda at the times indicated on this agenda. Following any comments from the public, there may be discussion by the City Council. Public speakers may address their comments to the City Council as a whole, the mayor, or any individual council member. When addressing the City Council on specific enumerated agenda items, speakers shall make their comments concise and to the point, not speak more than once on the same subject. Note, by speech or otherwise delay or interrupt the proceedings or the peace of the City Council. Obey the orders of the mayor or the City Council and not make any irrelevant, impertinent, or slanderous comments while addressing the City Council, which pursuant to the City Council rules shall be considered disorderly. Any person who becomes disorderly or fails to confine his or her comments to the identified subject or business shall be cautioned by the mayor and thereafter must conclude his or her remarks on the subject within the remaining designated time. Any speaker failing to comply as cautioned shall be barred from making additional comments during the meeting and may be removed as necessary for the remainder of the meeting. Members of the public may make comments during the public comments portion of the meeting. Please be advised that the public comment will only be permitted during the public comment portion of the agenda at the time indicated by the chair during the meeting. Open to the public. Yes, sir. And please, I have a hearing issue, so if you could, make sure you adjust the mic before you start speaking. Thank you.
1, 2. How's that?
You're good.
Good. Thank you, sir. Well, good evening, Mayor Norris. Welcome to your new tenure and council members. My name's Roger Cressy. I'm from C-Section. I'm a representative of the Canal Community Coalition, the CCC. This past year in June, a group of neighbors gathered to address the growing problems associated with short-term rentals, their proliferation, and we formed the CCC. The group's aim is to increase neighborliness, to preserve the environment, and to work with other districts of Palm Coast to save our neighborhoods from the decline which is from poorly managed vacational rentals. By July, the CCC had grown to 94 households, working together to protect our financial and emotional investment in our homes and neighborhoods. On June the 27th this year, Governor DeSantis vetoed Senate Bill 280 in favor of home rule. Had Senate Bill 280 passed, it would have denied us, the residents of Palm Coast, the right to peaceful enjoyment of our homes, and denied us the power to seek the protection of our property rights from unregulated short-term rentals in single-family zoned neighborhoods. Palm Coast's current ordinances were established for residential homes with an average of 2.4 members per household. These ordinances are inadequate and ineffective tools for regulating the vacational rental business. Many owners market their properties as what amounts to being resorts to large groups of vacationers who often don't know ahead of time that they'll be vacationing in a single-family zoned neighborhood. On July 2nd this year, after much public comment from Palm Coast residents, there was unanimous agreement on the part of the then City Council to establish a set of ordinances that pertain specifically to vacation rentals. And they direct the city management to create an initial draft. Since then, our members have been active in researching STR ordinances from cities around Florida and have met numerous times to discuss solutions with the city. We believe that you, the new council, will be discussing the proposed ordinances in the next workshop. I heard tonight, I believe it's Tuesday next week. These planned discussions were previously delayed by a lack of quorum due to illness, cancellation due to Hurricane Milton, and the November elections. We are hopeful that you will work quickly to bring relief and return peace, order, and civility to our neighborhoods. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Johnson, that's on for the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're working on it, sir. Yes, sir.
Mayor Norris, Eric Justin from the C-Section. First of all, congratulations. We're glad you're our mayor of Palm Coast, and
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
sure you're going to do a fantastic job. New council members, welcome, welcome. Old council members, welcome. And Ms. Pontieri, congratulations on your appointment as vice mayor. I'm here to represent the Canal Community Coalition regarding the short-term rental ordinance. As Roger said, through a series of illnesses and hurricanes and elections, this has kind of gone on pretty long. It's been almost 6 months we've been working on this. We're near done. I feel like we're getting close to wrapping it up, but I think it's important to express how the urgency of this. It has been going on a long time. I personally know 2 people that have put their homes up for sale because they can't take the rentals nearby them. It's horrible. I've been told about a third who I don't know personally, but nobody should be forced to move out of their home in order to accommodate a business next door. So I'm really just encouraging everybody to move this process along as quickly as possible, get this resolved, and help out the citizens of Palm Coast.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Good evening, Mayor Norris, council members. I'm Julia Connolly. I'm also in the C-Section and a member of the Canal Community Coalition. As you know, we support the creation of those ordinances that create solutions to poor short-term rental management and that promote peace and prosperity amongst our residential neighbors. We believe that these ordinances should address the following things. First of all, we would like them that they should require active management of short-term rentals by various means that result in the owners of these businesses being responsible for the cost of the management and rapid response to their customers' unruly behavior. The residents and tax-funded code enforcement and law enforcement should not bear the financial responsibility of, or the emotional cost of essentially becoming the ongoing reporters, as us, the residents, for ongoing problems and becoming the de facto managers of vacation rentals. That the onus of that should be on the owners of the property and their management companies. The result of the ordinances should be the assimilation of the vacation rentals into the character and culture of our neighborhood. Single family, quiet, peaceful, beautiful. And rather than dominate vacation rentals. In my situation, I have 3 rentals on my street that are within 3 houses. And as my neighbor said, I didn't buy this house to live across the street from the Holiday Inn. But that's our reality right now. We have nighttime noise, daytime noise, parking problems, trespassing. And I've spoke to a few people yesterday that have reported some extra trespassing issues. The ordinances should contain measures that provide for the safety of the renters, as other hostels, hotels, and bed and breakfasts are required by law to provide. The safety of our residents in whose neighborhoods these businesses are allowed to operate, and safety and protection of the natural environment, including wildlife and the canals. We are in a specifically unique environment with the canals behind us, and we have a lot of wildlife and a lot of boaters. We've worked through these goals with the city, and we do appreciate that, and have great hope that you will be responsive to your Palm Coast constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Lisa Jennis. I live in the C-section as well, part of the same coalition. And we have been here for 20 years, and we are the victims of 5 short-term rentals within walking distance of my home. I have one directly next to me, one directly behind me, and we can hear all of them. Currently, what we call it is living next to a water park, because it's a constant stream of new people every 3 to 5 days coming in, making lots of noise, bringing extra people. They might have out-of-state plates, but there's Florida plates for the day, and it's just like living next to a water park. I don't think that we should be subject to this noise. I want to know why they're allowed to open up a business. It is a business, because they're making money off of renting their house out every couple of days. When we moved here, my husband's a contractor. We had to jump through hoops. We had to go to the meetings. We had to put the big orange signs in our yard. And if the neighbors didn't want us to have a business there, they could have spoke up and said no. But we had no impact on our neighborhood. He would get in his truck and go to work. We had magnets on the truck. We took them off at night. We did everything right. But now suddenly, this spring, the people bought the house and turned it right into us, next to us, into an Airbnb. And it's been an absolute nightmare of day and night noise. The police come, they say, well, we really can't do anything because, it's not after 10 o'clock. But why are we subject to yelling, screaming? I've heard some foul things over there. It's really not fair. The other issue I have is our noise ordinance on Sunday. You can start making noise at 7. I think that's a little early for a Sunday, for us working people. We're all working people. Maybe I'd like to sleep Sunday. After Milton, we were able to open up our windows, but it's as if a bunch of strangers are standing outside my bedroom window with the noise. It's very uncomfortable. We don't even feel safe in our home, and we've been there for now coming up to 21 years. And we'd like some protection. We feel honestly like we're on our own. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Good evening. My name's Mike Siller. I'm in the C-section, also part of the CCC. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that workshop going. I know it's been delayed a few times, but I think it's important that we get it before our time limit. Also, I believe there's a lobbyist that we have that's part of Palm Coast. It'd be nice if when they go to Tallahassee, they could speak on our behalf. I'm sure that most of the people don't want these hotels next to their houses. A hotel, they have security. If there's noise, they take care of the problem. The way it is now, if you have a problem, you can't really address it, or it's a couple hours later. A couple of my neighbors have asked the people to be quiet, and they've been cussed at, threatened. So it's not really part of a neighborhood. It's more like a business that they're running a hotel. Our houses are close together. The parking is insufficient to have a lot of cars, so there's cars out in the street and stuff. There's kids in the neighborhood too. They don't need to see a bachelor party or anything like that. I'm noticing boats coming fast up and down the canals now, and they don't have a Florida sticker, so they're probably from out of state. Also, there's 3 houses in my block that are for sale. One's right next door to me. I'm concerned that if it sells to a short-term rental, the value of my house will go down, and I'll have to put up with the constant, partying and all that other stuff that goes along with it. Also, I've some people that have called a few times. They've been threatened by the owner of the short-term rental that they're going to sue them, or for different. I don't know if it's exactly what the term would be, but I guess because they've called and they've caused them issues. So that needs to be addressed too. I mean, if you make a call and it goes to the Airbnb company and they tell the owner who called in, and they maybe called 3 or 4 times, and now all of a sudden they're saying, well, he's harassing me or something, and that's not the case. It's just that every week or so there's new people coming in, and I just don't think it's the right thing for our residential neighborhoods. It'd be nice if we could have some kind of say in what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Cameron Orr. I do want to start off and say I am a proud graduate of the Citizens Academy, probably 7 years ago, and I got the certificate, but I didn't get the nice T-shirt. So that's a good ad for the city. I just wanted to give you a short update this evening. I was here a couple weeks ago talking about animal refuge at Flagler. We committed with a team to go off and visit about 12 shelters around the state to gather data in support of what it takes to stand up a shelter, what it takes to run a shelter. In the last 2 weeks, our team has traveled over 975 miles visiting shelters. We've been able to get a hold of and contact 6 of them so far out of the 12. We were impacted by the holiday break, but for the most part, the shelter directors have been very cooperative with us and shared all the data we've asked for. I did send Ms. Johnson and Mr. DiLorenzo an abbreviated data package of what we've collected so far, but I just want to share some top-level views of what we've seen. As you know, 54 of the 67 counties in the state do have a municipal shelter. 5 counties have more than 1 municipal shelter. 32 of those 54 counties also have private shelters in addition to the municipal shelter. And thus far, the county with the fewest existing kennels has been Putnam. But as of the end of January, they're going to far exceed Flagler, even though they have half our population. They're going to open a new shelter with 88 additional kennels at the end of January. All but 2 of the kennels we visited so far have full-time veterinarians. Both Putnam and Sumter County contract out for veterinarian services. And the other thing we found out is it's been an issue more with the county than with the city, but animal control officers, it's about a 50-50 split on them reporting directly to animal services within the city or county, and then the sheriff's office. But in no cases have we found out where they report to a private shelter as they do here in Flagler. And the other thing is there's actually been one shelter that opened up 3 years ago in Lake County. We just visited them 2 days ago. They built their shelter at a cost of $9 million. There are 3 new shelters going up in 2025, and they range widely in cost. Putnam County is doing it on the cheap. They're doing it for $1.6 million, building 88 new kennels. Citrus County is putting up about 100 new kennels for $13 million. And Mr. Mayor, as you pointed out, Clay County is building a new facility at $22 million. We intend to visit them this week. So thank you. Just wanted to give you a short update.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is João Furão. I would like to start by congratulating you for your election and wish you the best on your job. I'm a long-term resident of Palm Coast, and we refer to the C-section and the short rentals. And C-section is a big section, but let's start just from the access, which is Cimarron. At the beginning of Cimarron, in half a mile, we have 5 of these units, okay? I spoke before, I'm concerned about just calling the police. There is probably more important things, a fire, person in danger. So just to call the police for some noise sometimes is, we try to avoid that. We try two different approaches, okay? I had a situation that was not the renter, was the owner of the place. And when I came out to put my garbage, I noticed that they had the garbage on the street, not on the curb. So my wife approached the lady. She was the owner, and she was yelling and screaming and all this and that. Later, the son came and apologized, saying that she had some drinking and things like that. So we tried different approaches. One of the things that I didn't refer on my last thing is the code enforcement. If there is a violation, let's say Bike Week, I had 3 trailers parked there from bikers and things like that. So if you call enforcement, they come in and they give them, let's say, 72 hours to correct the problem. By the time the 72 hours expire, they are gone. So we have no recourse. So it's just not the police, it's not the code enforcement. You know that, we didn't create the problem. I remember when we had a few traffic lights and when 3 cars was a traffic jam. Today, it's not. So we are suffering from growing pains. But we need some help because otherwise, I have a beautiful house in front of me for sale. So when people realize there is 4 or 5 in half a mile, the value of my property is gone. So I got one on the side, one in the back. And sometimes I have 2 kinds of different music, We cannot enjoy our yard. I had another council member I have a beautiful gazebo that I brought from Pennsylvania. I cannot sit down and read a book. So, cannot even enjoy my backyard. I appreciate any help we can get. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, hi. My name is Claudio Navarro from U section. I have a problem with B&Bs because they want a special regulation for this. Or the lease for 6 months contract, because every weekend I have my next door is a B&B. Somebody's different, and they screaming, they come with too much energy, This is wrong. They need the something, contract, the least 6 months for rental, that place. The police came another day because they start to fight on the driveway and come out on the streets. It has too many cars together, and they fight. The police came and clear everything out. Next week, another people again. You guys need to regulation this. The least 6 months, in my mind, is 1 year contract for rental the house. Because I'm not a business, I bought my house for me and for my wife. They're so loud, they screaming, I don't know where they come from. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Purdy. I am the head swim coach at Matanzas High School and owner of Flagler Fluid Swim Team in the youth program. I'm here to express the urgent need for a dedicated community aquatic center in Flagler. As you may know, our current pool facilities are limited in size, accessibility, and programming. These limitations prevent us from meeting the needs of our growing population, especially when it comes to providing comprehensive aquatic activities for people of all ages, particularly for swim lessons, instruction, and water safety training. The demand for the aquatic programs in our community continues to rise, but the current facilities are inadequate to sustain the increasing number of users. We have 2 facilities within 1 mile of each other, and neither are operational for public use currently. We are in Florida. There should be no reason why an aquatic facility should be closed at this time. This is especially critical for our youth, where access to swim lessons are vital in ensuring their safety in and around water. Swim education is more than a recreational activity. It's a life-saving necessity, particularly in Florida, where accidental drownings are a significant concern. As you may be aware, our Florida statute, SB 358, also known as the Water Safety Bill, outlines the importance of promoting water safety education, including the need of the community partnerships that can offer swim lessons aligned with the statute's guidelines. Currently, Palm Coast Aquatic Center is the only facility in the community offering swim lessons. It is becoming clear that this is not enough to adequately serve our population, especially with the increasing emphasis on water safety education across the state. Last year, Florida was number 5 in drowning, and currently we are number 1 in the youth drowning out of all the U.S. We respectfully request the city consider building a proper aquatic center that can offer a full range of aquatic activities, including competitive swimming, water aerobics, and mostly important swim lessons focused on youth safety. By partnering with organizations that specialize in swim instruction, we can work together to ensure that all residents, especially children, have access to the necessary resources to prevent drowning incidents. Can the city support the burden of future drowning deaths if we do not take proactive steps? I believe the additional of this comprehensive aquatic center would not only provide recreation and athletic benefits, but also be significant investment in the safety and well-being of our community. Currently, people are not able to swim or activities. People are leaving and going to Ormond because they have a Y facility. There is nothing here. We need to push the Y and make actions for this to happen, and there needs to be a proper facility. They're both over 50 years old. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Good evening. I'm John Nukowski. My wife and I live on Christopher Court, and I'm an active member in the Canal Community Coalition. Since June of this past year, I've had good opportunities to meet many people, including many of you. And we've been coming to meetings and talk to residents, and we find that while the canal section is very unique with how noise travels and how you're facing, that neighbor that it just echoes off that, also inland residents are experiencing the same thing with short-term rentals. Basically, the biggest complaint is noise, and parties, and just unruly behavior and disrespect. I see this in my neighborhood. I've seen homes, as other people said, go up for sale because they just don't want to be next to something like that or across the canal with people that just don't respect you as a neighbor. We've been here over 10 years. My daughter's a teacher. I think you know that. Some of you do. She's been here for about 20 years in Palm Coast. And only in the last 2 years have we been affected in such a negative way. We just hope that with our leaders here, we have new people, we have additional responsibilities as vice mayor, we have a new mayor. We hope that you will just take our complaints and really look at that and decide something with the ordinances that will help us have just more quietude, more serenity, more peacefulness, happiness in our homes. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
My name is Silvia Puglisi, in Palm Coast since 1991, and it's nice to see all the new council sitting here. We have great expectations, the residents, from all of you. We bring here our problems, and we want to see them in your agendas. Please address the administrators to put in the agendas the issues that are very important to resolve. And we have some of them, like Florida Park Drive and Cimarron, which I understand in January they're going to address and install some traffic calming devices. Also, we do have the issue of the pool. You need to talk to the new school board. I have faith that we have a more compassionate new school board that will understand that they should not close the 1,100 membership for Palm Coasters, where elderly, people with special needs, children, youth, families use that pool. We cannot do just with the former Frida Zamba Aquatic Center. We need that pool from the school. If the school doesn't want it, the city needs to talk to them. And we should have the funds out of 421 millions collecting in the city budget to resolve a 70,000 a year deficit that the school claimed for that pool. So please, let's talk with the new school board. And I've been already lobbying one of them. So let's open that pool. Put it on the agenda. You need our issues in the agenda. You need the Florida Park Drive, Cimarron, the schools. We need also the issue of this airport. You hear here people selling houses because of that. The people that is adjacent, the Palm Coasters that are adjacent to the airport, are being plummeted by this noise and this danger of this aircraft touch and goes from the schools that are using their airport for touch and goes. I have 2 friends I know, they're selling their homes at a great loss. They cannot even sell them because 60,000 losses and more trying to sell their homes to get out of there. Why do we Palm Coaster have to get out of Palm Coast? Because we are being undermined, abused. That should not be taking place. You need to put in the agenda, address the administrators, please, to put in the agenda the issues that we need first to be addressed. Let's leave the projects of the new developments a little bit on the back burner. Take us out of the back burner, because we've been in the back burner of the city for many, many years, and we'll appreciate that that will change with you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ms. Celia.
Mark Stansel, Seminole Woods. I have a couple of items that I have brought up to the previous city council a couple of times, and it seemed like fell on deaf ears, but I have high hopes for this city council. 2 things that I want to speak and bring up to you is traffic issue. Down on Seminole Woods gets a lot of traffic between 100 going to 1. Well, there's a road called Sesame that circles around. And the first Sesame, which you run into, has a left and right turn lane. The second one, which most people use if they're going to 1, there's no left or right turn lane, it's just 1 lane. Just coming here tonight, I spent 5 minutes waiting to make a right-hand turn because there's no right turn lane. Everybody's trying to turn left has to wait for all that traffic. If we had a right turn lane, it wouldn't be backed up. They're in rush hour, when people going to work and coming home, sometimes somebody might want to make a right turn lane, and it might take them 10 minutes just to get up there to make that right turn lane. We desperately now that's not something that we have to go to the TPO for, because it's not a state or federal road. That's a Palm Coast road. So Palm Coast could easily just put in I say easily, of course, a right turn lane would be very beneficial for the traffic issue that's there. The other thing is, when you drive around the city hall here and the area at night, you can't hardly see the curbs. Some people run over the curbs because it's dark and it's not well lit. I made the suggestion before to put reflective paint on them, especially when it's raining. You can't see them at all. A little paint would help go a long way for people being able to see where they're going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Alexander. I live on Colchester. We've been there 11 years. We moved there because it was a community. We knew our neighbors. We knew who was walking up and down our streets. We knew the children that were running up and down our streets. We don't know them anymore because they were run out. They moved, and then rentals came in, and then more rentals came in, and nobody wants to live by that. I don't want to live by you when you're playing out in the road, being loud, blocking my driveway. This is not my idea of retirement. When you were growing up, I want you to think back, each and every one of you. When you were growing up, when you went out your front door, and you were standing in your front yard, were you afraid? Were your parents afraid to let you go? Let me ask you, if you were living next to a rental that is act in the way that these people have shown you, would you want your grandchildren in your front yard playing? Would you want your children to go play out in the front yard without supervision? What I'm asking you is, don't ask us to expose our children and grandchildren to something that you wouldn't want to be exposed to. These rentals are businesses. We live in a community. Well, we did. We don't anymore. We don't know our neighbors. You know, when I grew up, there were block parties. There were all kinds of wonderful things that happened, and we were doing that. Now we're not. Because we live in the middle of a commercial nightmare. And you, ladies and gentlemen, you have been voted in by all of us in this room. And we expect you to make a difference. You were voted in for a reason. We voted those other people out because they're trying to run us out. So understand, we will vote you out and try again. This is important. Do not ask us to have our children and grandchildren subjected to a lifestyle that you don't want your grandchildren or children subjected to. We had a community. We do not anymore. And I miss it. And I need it. Everybody does. It's why you move to a place, to have connections. They're not there anymore. Who's ever in there, they're going to be gone the next day. Bike week, my girlfriend, she's got 4 rentals around her, revving their bikes up. I ride motorcycles. I know that's not right. We don't do it. It's stupid. But now that's what they do. They come here and they don't think there's any rules because they're on vacation. We're living our lives here. We expect you to let us live our lives the way you want to live your life, and it's not happening. I'm expecting you to make a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
My name is Frank Hankey. Hello to all of you guys. I live on Colchester, on the canal. And one thing I've heard a lot about noise. It is definitely there. So I think that's kind of got enough attention. But the environment that the renters are destroying that canal. Then just in the last week, there was a person in a rental across the canal from me. He's fishing, he's catching fish, he's throwing them in back, and all of them are floating away. And there's beer cans and bottles and all in that canal. That canal was beautiful at one time. And then, of course, we have the expense of trying to clean that up as city taxes and stuff. And I don't see why. I mean, I'm going to, if I'm stepping out of my box here, I'm sorry. But why can't you tax the vacation rentals at a different rate than the homeowners like myself that came down here and are retired, and many on fixed income and trying to keep things reasonably priced? Those vacation rentals are raking in the dough. Why can't they carry a little bit more of the burden? Maybe they should pay for some of the cleanup of the canal and some of the maintenance of the canal because they're destroying it. Yes. Yes. Thanks, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Frank.
Hi, I'm Donna Stansel. I am also living in Seminole Woods, and I was with my husband this evening, Mark, when we were experiencing the traffic backup off of Sesame onto Seminole Woods. The one thing that he forgot to mention that I thought I'd come up here and add is that we've got a whole lot of new development off of Seminole Woods. The one down that they've got just all the acres of clearing that they've just done, plus that new development up by Grand Landings. Imagine the kind of traffic that we're going to have going forward if it's already bad. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Donna.
Last but not least, Robert McDonald, Palm Coast. I've been coming to mayor and council meetings for probably 50 years at least. Most of them up north. Now I've been living down here in Palm Coast for 9 years. I have never asked a politician to do anything that was shady, unprofessional. I never asked a politician to do me a favor. But I did some paperwork today, and I submitted it to the city to have this room named after John Ness, because John Ness was a warrior. I remember him from when he lived up in New Jersey. He didn't take crap off of anybody, and when he came down here, he took even less crap. If there was anything that you wanted to know about Palm Coast, you only went to one person, and that was John Ness. He knew everything about the city, everything. And when he got elected and he sat up there for 8 years, he ruled that council with an iron hand. But he had the biggest heart in the world. And then we were lucky enough, and we had him as our mayor. You talk about a mayor who had an iron fist, that was John Ness. But he had a heart as big as this room and bigger. And this building that we're all standing in, and this meeting room that everybody comes and enjoys, we wouldn't have it if it wasn't for John Ness. Now I've been told that after this paperwork gets submitted, it goes to a committee and they review it, but for the most part, they usually approve it, and then the final decision comes to you people. Now I understand that his name came up once before and it didn't even get a second. Now, like I said, in 40 or 50 years that I've been coming to mayor and council meetings, I have never, ever asked a politician to do the right thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you, please, do the right thing. When this thing comes up and John Ness' name come up to rename this room, please, do the right thing. That's all I'm asking you. I'm not asking you to do me a favor. That's a little shady. You never ask a politician to do you a favor. So I'm asking now, when it comes up, just do the right thing and make this room John Ness's room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
I'm getting there. Am I okay? Angie, I've been here in Palm Coast for 21 years. First, I'd like to address the council. Welcome, everybody. Mr. Gobito, Mr. Miller, I just want to say my big disappointment in you gentlemen. When you gave your little speech to the council to get on the council, I thought, wow, this guy, he might actually be for us citizens. And you, Mr. Miller, I'm sorry I didn't vote for you, don't trust you even less after last week. When you didn't second Teresa, who is apparently the only one up there qualified to be vice mayor, I'm not sure what your reasoning was behind it, but it scares me. We only have to put up with you for 2 years. If you don't do what we like, you're gone. Unfortunately, we're probably stuck with you for 4. So that's just my opinion on not seconding Teresa. My second thing is the traffic. I live right off of Matanzas in the B section, over by the Dollar General. When you're coming off of 95 there on the Matanzas Parkway, you're backed up sometimes all the way to 95. There have been so many accidents there. There was just another one last week. Several months ago, I called the traffic division to find out what the status was for us to get a light there. It's a very dangerous section, especially because it's got a mound, and then you got a silver guardrail, and when you have silver cars coming over there, you don't see them. So it's a very dangerous. So he said to me, well, we're on a 5-year plan. I said, why are we on a 5-year plan with all these accidents? Well, apparently, our sheriff's office has an outdated system, does not give the correct information to the highway administration. So they have less accidents there than have actually really happened. But what does our sheriff do? He goes down and buys $250,000 of Mustangs. That system needs to be updated because that's our city here. That's why we're not getting lights and getting some of the things that we need. That is something that really needs to be taken on the agenda there. The other thing I have is the golf course, which is the pain in my butt. I'm tired of the taxes on it. I'm tired of the loss on it. If we can't sell it, shut it down. It'll be cheaper for us to absorb paying the taxes on the property than taking the losses that this place has every year. Why someone wants to keep a losing business is beyond me. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time and good luck with your next, I don't know how to say it, your next few years here, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name's Al Hurley, East Section. I've been in Palm Coast for 20 years, and I have to admit that my quality of life has been very good for me. And as I sit here, I feel bad for all the people in the other sections that's having a problem in their section. And I have just noticed that. I want to let you know that it's not just the C section that's having a problem with these short-term rentals. I have neighbors around the area that I get involved with, and they tell me their little stories, but then they don't come to the meetings, and I tell them over and over again, please come to the city council meeting and express your opinion about your problems. So as I go along, Mr. McDonald here, that's the reason why I really came here for John Nett. John Nett, as he said, he was a warrior for us, and I really appreciate John Nett. John Nett, it was a person that he will always hold community meetings. And every section that he has a meeting, I attended to. Now, there'll only be like 2 people there or 1 person there, but he was for the people in Palm Coast. And he would listen, and he would take action for it. And that's the reason why I really believe that this room could be named John Nett, because here it is, we have a person, a name on a trail, we have a person named at one of the ballparks, you know, and I don't see any reason why this room could not be named John Nett. A lot of people may say, I don't know who John Nett is, but that's up to our communication department to explore who our past mayors or city council people are. You know, so they'll be aware of it, and when they move to Palm Coast, there'll be a good communication what Palm Coast is all about. Because a lot of people really don't know when they finally move here about, only thing they hear is IT&T, 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 you know. So, but there need to be more communications. I don't know how you want to do it. I know the water bill sends out communication. How many people reads it? I don't know, but I always read everything that goes on in Palm Coast. I may not make it to this meeting, but I get it on YouTube, and I see how many people who happen to be on YouTube is listening to the meetings on there. So obviously, I just want to express my opinion about John Nett, okay? Thank you very much, and good luck to you for coming up this year as far as council people.
Thank you, Al. Any more public comments? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. I'll come back to the dais. Any comments on the issues that were raised?
Just really quickly, I encourage everybody who was here for the STRs to come back next week to the workshop. And I also encourage my fellow council members to try to look back at the previous meetings, watching them and taking notes on some of the things that we discussed, because part of the reason this has taken so long is we keep adding more things that we want to regulate, and we keep, you know, the sausage making, so to speak, for legislation happens during the workshops. And there's been a lot that's gone into this. I agree with the CCC and the other residents. I would like to put a pin in this and actually get an ordinance drafted and finalized. So the only way that is going to happen is if we all do our homework and make sure we come really prepared to kind of finalize this thing. So I look forward to doing that and hope we see all those that are concerned about the STRs back out here on the 10th. I would like an update on the light issue on Matanzas and 95. I know I had previously spoken to staff about that. I think I had spoken to Mr. Cody about that. So if we could get an update. I know that we were working with, I believe, the state FDOT on the necessity of that light, so I'd appreciate some information on that, City Manager.
Understood.
And then the last thing, the turn lane regarding from Sesame, that's interesting. That's the first time I've actually, and I know Mr. Sensley, you said you had mentioned it before. I don't recall that. I apologize. But I would be interested in some information on that as well.
I made that note, Ms. Pontieri, and I'll get that information to City Council.
Thank you.
The south end. The north end is good, south end. Anyone else? Go ahead, Mr. Gambaro.
Yes, good evening, and thank you to all the speakers that spoke this evening. We hear you. We're going to workshop the short-term rental on the 10th, correct? When are we going to do in the first reading? Can we get this done before the end of the year? I mean, how can we map this out so we can get this done? And provide a nice Christmas gift to everybody that came and spoke here.
That would be wonderful. Unfortunately, you do not have two more business meetings in December.
Okay.
So if City Council gives direction to us at the workshop next week, the first reading could be December 17th, and the second reading could be January the 7th.
Okay, all right. So that's a timeline
Yes,
for
sir.
everybody to plan on. Okay. The lady that spoke with regards to the pool, you're 100% right. My daughter, we moved, my daughter went to FPC and there was no place for her to really train. It was a real problem. And where's Miss Celia? All of our residents do, for exercise purposes, for all these different things. I really think we need to move forward on it. We do have a presentation later here this evening with regards to our lobbying efforts, and you're going to see that there's a YMCA in there. I think we need to take a hard look at whether we need to have an indoor pool or an outdoor pool, and does it make sense for YMCA and their business model, yes or no? But I think we need to discuss that and to see what's best for our community when we move forward with that. So I'm all on board with trying to resolve the swimming pool issue, and I look forward to working with everybody on that. The Sesame second turn lane, I've got friends that live down there, so I've seen it, and it's a problem, and we need to fix that. Just like we need to fix Royal Palms, heading towards Old Kings 95. That's a disaster. When that development there gets completed, it's going to be a nightmare, 10 times worse than what it is. So we got to think through that problem set. How hard is it to put reflective markings on curbs? I don't know. We absolutely need to move out on that. And that's it. We hear you, but we're going to move as fast as we can to take action, so appreciate your input this evening.
I apologize, Mayor. I just have one more question on the Sesame issue. Because we have seen such an influx of residents over in the Seminole Woods area, can we also add into the information that you send to council whether or not a portion of impact fees could be used for that turn lane? Because I think there's an argument to be made that it's capacity related.
Understood. We'll look into that analysis.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. You got anything, Ray? No. Ty, you got anything?
I was just going to mention that, in regards to short-term rentals, as a conservative, typically I would lean to deregulation of industries. However, when you're infringing upon others, that's no longer something that I would represent. So know that we hear you, and you have my support to work with everybody here to get that fixed. Obviously, with the limitations of the meetings, won't be done before the end of the year, but we'll try to get it done as soon as possible.
For everyone dealing with the Airbnbs, I feel your pain personally. We lived in the B section for 17 years. The couple behind us, they had a double lot. He had a two-story house, and he built a big garage for his big boat. And they wound up getting a divorce, and they turned it into an Airbnb. So I feel your pain. We moved from there for other reasons, but that was a contributing factor also. And we enjoy our neighborhood now up on the north end. And we're going to do everything we can to regulate within the state statutes, to do what we can to protect your personal property rights. I can guarantee that. On Matanzas, was it that discussed? Is it that in the queue for lights going in at Matanzas, traffic lights going in?
Yes, it is part of the analysis of widening Matanzas. We can get you the information on our traffic counts that was presented to City Council earlier this year. It has to warrant so many trips, but I'm not sure when exactly that's scheduled. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I can give an update. Though the interchange, we had requested numerous times to DOT to study that those interchanges and put in a signal, requested a signal. Several times they conducted studies and it didn't meet any of the warrants to require a signal, but the last one they did, it did meet a warrant. So they've confirmed with the city that they do meet warrants for a traffic signal. It's currently not in their 5-year work program for funding, but it could be done as a push button or other type project. So we keep on them to make that project go forward, but we don't have a date as to when that would be funded, but it does meet warrants to have them installed.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, I live on the north end, and I know that with the school traffic, there's serious accidents up there all the time. Yeah, it is. Okay, the golf course, I'm going to continue looking into that. We can't have the losses. We can't handle that, so we'll keep looking in on the golf course. Down on Seminole and Sesame, I understand we'll follow up with that one. And community meetings, for those that are interested, I'm fully retired, and I'm going to try to have office hours. So if you need to come in and see me, I'm going to be very accessible to you to come see me with your questions or concerns. So going forward, I'll be working on that. And I have no problem stepping out and having community meetings. It'll just take a little bit of organization. But other than that, I have nothing else. So now we're on item F, minutes. Any questions on the minutes from the last meeting?
No, Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a second? Is it just consent or?
All in favor, just take all in favor.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, minutes are done. Now we move on to item G, resolutions. Marcus, do you need to read those in, sir?
Yes, sir. Resolution 2024-XX approving the 2025 local legislative priorities.
Mayor, City Council, as Mr. DiLorenzo is setting up the presentation for this afternoon, just wanted to give you all a little bit of insight. This is, we hope to navigate this process priority by priority and hear how you're feeling through consensus on each item. We are prepared if you would like to add any additional priorities or remove some or modify, but we really wanted you to have the consensus and collaboration as these are your priorities to execute in the next legislative session. So it's a little delayed from our normal process, but we thought that it was timely for the new council to adopt these priorities. So I'll let Jason take it away.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Jason DiLorenzo, Chief of Staff. Okay, sorry. Your City Council priorities guide this outline with the priority themes of smart growth, reduce risk of flood, protection of the water supply and water quality, and community preservation. And I'm going to go through individual projects that staff has considered for appropriations requests. But I'm going to start with annually, we get a request from the Northeast Florida Regional Council to provide a regional priority, something that is going to effectuate the entire region. And the priority that we've developed is in partnership with the Northeast Regional Council, we advocate for increased state assistance for utility infrastructure funding, and we urge the Florida legislature to expand grant opportunities and matching fund programs specifically aimed at supporting utility infrastructure in high-growth regions. So we've already transmitted this to the Northeast Florida Regional Council, that we had a deadline of November the 22nd, which didn't coincide with our meeting schedule. But this is the regional priority that'll be included in their packet that they go to the legislature. The rest of them are our local priorities, and I look forward to your input on them. The first few are related to smart growth, and this one is Old Kings Road Construction Phase 3. A little bit of history. This has been in a TPO priority since 2009. Phase 1 was constructed a few years ago from just south of the McDonald's to approximately the bowling alley. And then Phase 2 construction, we received an appropriations last year to complete Phase 2. It was $18.3 million. And that construction will occur in 2025. And then this is for construction of Phase 3, which will link the 4-lane section north of Forest Grove all the way, which is already 4-lane to Matanzas, to Palm Coast Parkway. So when this is complete, we'll have 4-lane all the way from Palm Coast Parkway to Matanzas Woods Parkway. Just interrupt me if you have any questions, Mayor.
I have questions, sorry. Did you want us to ask questions, priority by priority? Okay.
Yep.
So first, what level of service do we currently have on Old Kings Road where Phase 3 is referencing?
I'll have to ask the transportation planner for that number. I'm not sure what it is. It's probably fairly low. However, we know it's growing, and we can get you the exact number because we studied it last year. But as part of Phase 2, there's a signal that's going to go in. I believe it's at Frontier.
That'd be a good place for it.
Yes, at Frontier. So I can tell you by understanding that, right, and knowing that a signal has to be warranted, right, that there's increased traffic in that area north of Palm Coast Parkway.
So I have kind of two conceptual ideas. One is that I'm wondering if we should push this priority another year, considering we're not constructing Phase 2 until next year. I'm also, though, another concept to consider rather than asking for appropriations is if we know this area is growing and this is a growth-related increase in traffic, should we be looking at impact fees? Are they even there? I don't know the answers to these questions, but I don't want to use an appropriations ask this year when I think we should be focusing on water and water capacity. If A, we're not even going to do construction on Phase 2 until next year, and B, we can maybe tap into impact fees. And then C, also, if we're not going to surpass the level of service D in Phase 3, which is what our level of service is for the city, I don't know that it's really necessary to ask for this money yet.
Okay, certainly, if you'd like to push it off, we could. I would just say that there's probably some benefit to, if we were to receive the funds, because we could probably package the two, Phase 2 and Phase 3 together, which would make the project a shorter project timeline altogether. We'd probably reduce mobilization fees from the contractor. So there could be a benefit in doing that, but I completely understand what you're saying. Maybe there's, more important projects.
Do we have a price tag on Phase 3, what this ask would be?
When it was originally studied, it was around another 20 million, but it hasn't been looked at in a little while.
This was on the last legislative ask, both of those, north and south, and they were not funded, correct, Jason?
Phase 2 was funded. I don't remember if we included
Did we ask
Phase
for
3.
Old Kings Road last year? They went unfunded.
Several segments, yes. But we did receive funding for the Old Kings Road section near Town Center Boulevard as well, but for design.
For design, yeah.
So, Vice Mayor, I think you could go either way here. If we were to get it, there could be a benefit in mobilization fees and combining the project. It could reduce some of the pain, during construction in that area, because it would be one project rather than two separate projects if we weren't to fund it in the future. Not the CIP expert, but I think there are quite a few of the transportation impact fees already tied up in other projects. So I don't know what it would take to build up that fund again to do it. It would certainly be eligible for it. And as you know, it's on the TPO list as well. So, and I think it's it's the third priority on the TPO list, but it also has been stuck there for quite some time.
So I met with some of our state representatives, and from what I understand, the way that we should be prioritizing these is by looking at what the state will be reimbursed from the federal government based on different federal programs that are going on. So, for instance, the American Rescue Plan. when we get certain appropriations as a city from the state then gets reimbursed from the federal government based on whatever federal programs are going on. Do we have any idea from our from our lobbyists what programs we should be looking at to see what our state will get money back for? Because some of those, they actually get more money on the dollar than what they're giving us. So they make money from giving us money. Do we know what those look like yet?
No, but our lobbyist should be scheduled with, I think, almost all of you on Thursday. I think it's Thursday, and with me as well, so we'll go over that.
Okay, the problem is we're being asked to put forward something tonight. So what do we do?
Well, this list of priorities is a starting point for us. From here, we build the package, and looking for those, federal programs or, agricultural links back to the program will all be written into them when we go to submit them to the legislature, which doesn't happen until January or February.
So this will come back before us before we decide on what that final package looks like?
We generally don't bring it back. All of that's kind of like the grant writing portion of it, right? So this is the list of items. We package it up to go to an overview booklet that the county produces. But from then until we submit the House forms, which we don't have a date for when they're due yet, but they're generally due in January, February, is where all the grant writing work that you're referencing would go into the background information that goes into the submittal for the House.
Okay.
Florida House.
Obviously, I didn't mean to throw a wrench in your whole presentation. I just have an issue making such a big decision without it coming back when we are clearly missing information. We don't have, particularly for our newer members, they haven't met with the lobbyists yet, so this is a completely new process for them as well, and I think we're making really big decisions on behalf of our city, even our county, and even regionally. So I don't know how council feels about it coming back in January, just to kind of give it a final blessing before we package it for the legislator, but I think that's what I would be in favor of, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Be happy to do that. We're working under the county's timeline here, and we're already behind as we waited for the new board to be seated. So if you don't finalize the list, then we're not going to be able to get in the county's booklet. I don't know if that's important to you or not. I think I gave all of you a copy of that countywide legislative priority book from 2024.
And the reason why we are, trying to collaborate with the county is we've been told that it's requested through our state legislatures that they like to see the community collaboration, the consensus there. So it's our understanding that they're ready to print their booklets. They're kind of just waiting on us. So if you don't want to do that, that's fine. We'll just omit that process this year and come back to you in January.
I'm not suggesting we omit that. I just, maybe, and Mayor, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I think that it's important that we have this information. I mean, if we don't know what federal programs our state legislators are going to be leaning towards in order to give money, then how can we prioritize? And I don't want to hear, oh, we don't prioritize, because we do. We prioritize us. That just is a fact. So if we are going to prioritize these items, if the governor has a list of things on his desk and he looks at our representatives and says, what are the top 2 things your city wants? We need to all make sure we're on the same page. And what are the chances that we're going to get those? We had 2 asks that got all the way under the governor's desk and then got vetoed. I don't want to see that happen again. And they were big things. It's a fire station and what was the other one? The YMCA, yeah, which clearly our community needs, right? So I don't want us to not be in the booklet, city manager, but I think it's important, maybe we have to have a special meeting, I don't know, but I think it's important that we get on the same page.
Mayor, if I can, what if we went through the priorities tonight, we at least got consensus on which one, so we make it into the booklet, and then as we get closer to the lobbying session is when we bring back to you what you would like to do for prioritization.
That works. Yeah.
Well, I think some of this stuff is just continuation. So I would say, as long as we can rank order them, because I don't want what happened last year or in the last legislative session to happen again. I want to say specifically, we need water. We need water treatment and wastewater treatment. So all these, I didn't have any problem with at all. But we can go through, you can finish, Jason, but as long as we rank order them, and then if you guys can come back with us with the specifics where we can target the ask.
Sure, understood.
And the lobbyist is going to be here on a Thursday, so we'll get a quick, it's a fast turnaround, right? Because she'll be here and we can work with that on her.
Vice Mayor? Okay.
Any other questions on Old
Yeah,
Kings
I've got a
Road?
question,
Yes, sir.
Jason. So on phase 2, in FY '23, there was $18.3 million appropriated for that piece, right?
Yes.
Okay. What are the consequences if we don't accept that money?
We would lose it. We'd have to pay for the road ourselves.
Okay. So Vice Mayor, you were suggesting to hold off on it?
No, I wasn't suggesting holding off on it. What I was saying is, if we're not going to start construction with phase 2 monies until next year, is there any harm in prioritizing the water projects this year and then putting the Old Kings ask off to essentially next legislative session, because we can't use that money next year anyways, right? I mean, because we're not even starting phase 2 until next year. We already have that money.
Right.
Right now, we're asking for phase 3. So timeline-wise, it's use it or lose it. We have to use it. I don't think that we should throw that, send it back.
All right. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with both of you with regards to prioritizing our asks, wastewater treatment plant, water, things of that nature. Okay. I'm good with that. Thanks.
Just in general, a local road like this would not really be eligible for direct federal dollars. And really, that's why we struggle to get it funded through DOT as well, because it's considered a local road. Now, as an I-95 parallel facility, we get a little help right there, because it's important, right? I-95 was closed down already once this week, which pushes all that traffic onto I-95, onto Old Kings Road primarily. So, that does help us when we go to DOT and say, or the legislature, and say, hey, we need help with this. So the next project is I-95 parallel facility, Old Kings Road Phase 2A. So last year, the legislature appropriated $500,000 for design. We put some town center transportation impact fee dollars and some Old Kings Road special assessment dollars into that pot to work on the design for this area, which is Town Center Boulevard, Royal Palms Parkway, the canal, the I-95 overpass, and the intersection at Town Center Boulevard and Old Kings Road. And then 2A extends north to the entrance of Toscana. So the design for that project is either underway or we're about to sign the contract at any moment. And that is for the design of that, and then a 30% design from 2A north to Palm Coast Parkway. So a full design for this area, and then a 30% design going north as we kind of phase in these design and construction projects to make them more manageable from a dollar standpoint. This ask this year would be for the construction of Phase 2A, all of those points on the map there on the left, after the design work is complete.
How much impact fees are going, because that's a troubling area.
Yeah.
With all that construction going on over there. What kind of impact fees do we have going to that specifically?
Well, we're still in the design phase, and let me check with Carl, but I think it was about 250 or 300,000. Town center impact fees that were
Royal Palm, Town Center.
I think we were using all the fees that they had collected, because the way the town center fees, when they get collected, they get separated into a special fund. And I think it's like $900,000. We are finalizing our scope and fee negotiations. We'll be bringing that back to you possibly on the 19th.
Did you say 900,000?
I think it's around 900,000. I'd have to double check the numbers, but I'll be going through all the budgets, because there's like 5 different budgets tied to this project that will be funding a portion of it, because it also includes 2B, which will be going all the way up to Palm Coast Parkway as well. That's only going to be 60% design, but this will be 100% design. This is also looking at our stormwater constraint under 95. So that's a pinch point. Our stormwater master plan identified that as being a constrained area as well. So
Yeah, that's going to take major work to get that widened up.
yes,
Relieve
it's
some of that flow on Royal Palm.
right. We got federal highway, we get the interchange, there's the bridge structure. It's going to be very complicated and it's going to be a long process.
Thank you, sir.
So what's the dollar figure on the ask?
Not sure yet, sir.
They had not
Okay.
ironed those out yet.
All right. Well, Royal Palms is a problem, and I know we're looking at other areas, but for sure, from my standpoint, I think we need to make the ask with regards to legislative priorities on this one.
I agree. I think the Phase 2 is a more pressing issue. The section of Old Kings South of Palm Coast Parkway, with the construction on Royal Palms, I think the 450 units also approved for Old Kings Road, and that problem intersection where the Town Center Parkway meets Old Kings Road is a nightmare. I think that should be the priority as far as I'm concerned, as opposed to what's going on north of Palm Coast Parkway, because I travel that road and it doesn't seem to be a bad ride, as opposed to going south on Old Kings Road.
Yeah, a light at Frontier would alleviate a lot of that. So you're suggesting, Ray, that right now, we can say we're going to put this one above the Old Kings North. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting.
Good with that?
I agree with that. Yeah.
You good with that?
I
Tom?
agree as well. Yep.
Okay. All right, we got that.
Yes, sir. Moving on to the Maintenance Operations Center, long-term project. As you know, where Public Works is now, if you've visited it yet, it was contributed to the city from ITT. It's a really old piece of property we have there that's been added on to several times. Not a very safe working space. I think some of you know quite a bit about this location. So the new maintenance operations complex will be located west of US 1, just south of Matanzas Woods Parkway, and north of our PV grade, but north of the utility plant that's there. Phase 1 construction is already underway. That's the earthwork, the site work. And our ask here would be for construction of the next phase, which would be the fleet facility. Any questions? Okay.
Any questions?
Next is the YMCA project, and we just discussed it, right? This project was vetoed, and when you have a veto from the governor, you're put in timeout for a year. Been discussing this one with our lobbyist about how to repackage it so we can kind of pass the smell test and resubmit it. Have some ideas. We'll probably have to scale it back. Last year it was full construction. Maybe we scale it back to, design and site work, or kind of phase it up a little bit. Still working on how we'd like to package this, but, this is still a community priority, as you've heard.
Yeah, this one's a concern of mine, and I was a big proponent of the YMCA. I was super disappointed to see it get vetoed, and I know Senator Leek worked pretty hard for this. Are we wasting an ask by putting it in front of the governor possibly again, is my first question. Second, could we maybe increase the chances, and maybe this is a question for the lobbyists, but maybe increase the chances of it getting approved if we reference the water safety bill, Bill 358, particularly because the governor signed that bill. That was his bill. It was done in 2021. He's been our governor since 2019. So I think that's definitely something to put in front of the lobbyists while they're working to repackage this.
Okay.
Am I understanding correctly that the governor vetoed this legislative funding?
Yeah, if you'd like, I'll tell you a little history. 2 years ago, the YMCA requested $3 million for capital, $2 million for Volusia, and $1 million for Flagler, particularly for this project. That's when we started talking to them about it. The legislature approved $5 million for that project, with unfortunately $4 million for Volusia and $1 million still for Flagler, but at least there was $1 million. Last year, the legislature approved, I believe, $2 million for the Volusia Flagler YMCA, again for capital. So now they have a $2 million pot for Flagler. Our project, our construction, and the intention was that they would do the design and groundwork. We were going to do the construction. That's what we requested $6 million for. The bill passed both houses, was in the budget, but was a line item veto of the governor.
So
I heard, during my discussions this past week, I heard the figure $10 million would be the city's contribution to this YMCA. Am I correct in that assumption?
We don't have any design costs yet. We're not sure. We don't know what the cost will be. I think that's a fair number, probably.
Okay.
But I don't know if that would be the city's contribution. The city is, at this point, the city hasn't contributed anything to the project.
Okay.
Other than time and effort.
I would propose, rather than resubmitting this project, that perhaps we ask the state, or propose to the state, that monies be given to the city to reopen Frida Zamba Pool and change the filtration system from a chemical system to a saltwater system, which would cut the operating expenses nearly in half, and operate the pool 8 months out of the year, which would also reduce operating expenses. Because it's my concern that I'd like to see the greatest number of people across the spectrum benefit from an amenity, from the young to the not so young. I think that the Frida Zamba Pool serves the elderly, a place to go, chat, swim. It serves the people with physical handicaps, where they have a mechanism by where they could go swimming. I understand also that the high school swimming team uses that pool and to practice. And I frankly don't think it's a good idea for the city to enter into a public-private relationship, which is in direct competition with existing businesses that we have here now. On one hand, we are reaching out to businesses, come to Palm Coast and start a business, and on the other hand, we were going to say, well, we're going to open up a business that's going to compete directly with your profit, with your business. That doesn't make sense to me. I think that more people, the greater good, would benefit from the Frida Zamba Pool reopening, excuse me, and operating at a lesser cost. Because I don't think people in their 80s are going to go down to the YMCA and work out in the weight room. But they will go to Frida Zamba. The high school can practice there. And for a city of over 100,000 people, excuse me, we won't have a pool, because they tell me the second pool is about shot as well. So I think we should reprioritize and move away from a public-private endeavor, which is if it should go belly up or fail, the city's going to be left whole in the bag. That's I wanted to make that statement concerning this project.
I just had a question regarding, we talked about the appropriations that were given to YMCA previously for design and site work. So we're talking about repackaging this and resubmitting for potentially design and site work. If they've already received that money, is it unlikely that they're going to approve this when they say, we've already got that money?
Yes, sir. They didn't have the restrictions on their dollars like we did. So when I was saying that, that's how we originally, that was our original concept. Hey, you got this money, you do this part. we'll ask for that part, kind of, and then we would package it and put it together and make it work. But they don't have the restrictions on the dollars.
Yeah, just wondering if there's going to be long memory that says, hey, we gave you that 2 years ago already, so why would we give you more for that same, use, essentially?
Right. I think I failed to answer one of your questions, Vice Mayor, which was, is now the right time? I think it was your question. As you know, Senator Leek is a proponent of YMCA's. He may be on the board, I'm not sure. Or he has a relationship with the Volusia Flagler Y, and he's been the supportive person that's been, funneling these dollars. Now, I anticipate we'll have Senator Leek for some time, but that is one reason why, to continue with working with him on not losing the momentum that he's put, already 2 appropriations to them and, got us all the way to the governor.
Yeah, one of the other things, and I appreciate that, one of the other things too that I know is very important when they're looking at what they're going to award is what the city or the county has bought into the project. You made the comment that we have not put any land into this. Does the city of Palm Coast own any land where this could be placed in order to kind of increase that buy-in and make this more appealing?
Yeah, this is our land.
It is, so
Yeah,
all of this is our land?
All of this is our
All of
land.
it is, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
We haven't put any dollars into
No
the
dollars,
project.
got
Yeah.
it. And I wasn't sure if some of this was private land and some of it was ours, but
No.
all of this is ours?
Correct. Everything you see there is city land.
Okay, perfect.
Not the lot that looks kind of scratched up to the left, but the 2 main pieces where the stage are and a potential layout for the Y are city properties.
Jason, from where I sit, and I agree with Councilmember Stevens, the pool is the priority. And I don't think we should get cute and repackaging stuff that's already been denied. Let's make it something completely different. If it's with or without YMCA, we need to take a look at that. Right now, I think, our pools have reached their 50-year lifespan, and we've got an infrastructure there that I think we could move out on quickly. So from where I sit, I agree with Mr. Stevens, the pool's the priority.
So I just have a comment. I think we all agree that aquatics are the priority here, right? And so I just question because, as mentioned, Senator Leek's relationship with the YMCA and him pushing this, does us removing that partnership from it make it less of a priority from that standpoint?
I think it would. And the other problem is the YMCA for a long time, when we talked about this previously, we had to push for the pool to even be included in this project. So now we're kind of turning it on its head, which is fine. I agree that we need to have the pool as a part of the YMCA, but I also agree with my fellow councilman that the aquatic portion of this, focusing on the water safety bill, I think that needs to be elevated in order to, like you said, Jason, to repackage this. Because I don't want it to fail because it's a repetitive ask. I don't want to remove the YMCA because then that takes Senator Leek out of it, but I do think that it needs to be repackaged to focus on the aquatics necessity. And if it doesn't get approved, we need to find a solution for the aquatics issue, and perhaps looking at Frida Zamba down the road is worth it. That's not before us right now, but I think that it sounds like the consensus is that we need to repackage this really to focus on the aquatics portion of it.
And did they already get the money for the design? Did you say that
They have
earlier?
$2 million towards
$2
this
million.
project right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we got the
And-
money for the
and,
design.
We've met with the board and staff of the Y several times, and they are working, towards doing some fundraising and other ways to, contribute further into the project.
Would you be comfortable with that, Ray? Focusing it towards because the other 2 pools, they've outlived their life. They're 50 years and beyond, right? And yeah, that's a lot of money. But if we could repackage this to focus specifically on a pool, brand new pool, hopefully it would be saltwater, and go from there.
Well, that would be a step in the right direction. However, I still feel as though that the Frida Zamba pool is there, it's heated, it's well-attended. The YMCA was rejected once by the governor You know, are we going to continue to beat a dead horse, so to speak, or should we prioritize? And that, in my opinion, the priority should be a pool that could be used by a majority of the residents, including the high school swim team, et cetera, as I said earlier. So if we can get approval, I think I would put the YMCA on the back burner if I were calling the shots.
Question, do we have any refurbishment design or studies done for Frida Zamba?
We did do a facility assessment that I can send to City Council back about 2 years ago that did do an analysis, and it was determined at that time that we needed to look for an alternative new pool somewhere else just because of life expectancy of the pool, and it was at that time that City Council directed us not to invest any more money into the facility. So the pool is heated, but oftentimes the heaters are undergoing a lot of repairs. So it's, and also due to some budgetary constraints, that's why the pool is at a reduced hourly basis right now. We're closed in January and February. December, January, just because of lifeguard hours and attendance, which is the majority of the budget. It's about a $500,000 budget, and $300,000 of that is spent on staffing.
Yeah, I'll just, from a historical perspective, I will tell you every year that I've looked at the budget, I've gotten on to staff about lowering that pool budget, because the budget for the pool is ridiculous. It's a money pit. I mean, no pun intended, but it's a money pit. And I think it's really important that we have a pool specifically for the safety of our young generation, learning how to swim. My husband's a firefighter, and kids drown all the time because they don't know how to swim. I think it's incredibly important that we elevate that necessity in our community, but continuing to put money into a facility that is just aged out. It's something that I think we need to do until we find an alternative, but we need to try to find an alternative. So I welcome the study. I want to see it. I want to see what it would cost, obviously, to address that. But I will tell you, it's a budgetary challenge every year, and you'll experience that very shortly. But yeah, it's been a challenge.
So can we get a consensus on moving forward with the aquatic specific ask? That's about the best way to go, right? What do you think, City Manager?
Yes, it's just consensus on if you would like for us to move forward.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with.
Still a pool, right?
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you, Councilman Stevens, that it shouldn't be a priority. It should, but I think we should move forward, but not as a top priority.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I'm very, well, I'll be cautiously optimistic. And you guys know I've said this throughout the last year. We're going to be at the low end of the totem pole. And we can prioritize most of this stuff any way we want, but we have to have all our water needs up front. So, hopefully Senator Leak can pull some strings and help us out getting a YMCA. But I think specifically focusing on the aquatic portion of it would be the way to go, because the other two pools are lifespan out. If we get, this would be brand new out of the box. They've already got $2 million for design, or at least $1 million for design. So that'd be a step in the right direction, I think.
Well, what will we do in the interim? As I said, I reiterate, it's already rejected by the governor, vetoed. And now we're hoping somewhere down the road, it's kind of like free beer tomorrow, that we'll get a pool added to the YMCA, which was already rejected by the governor. So what do we do in the interim? It could be a couple of years, 3 years. I think that's why my focus would be, for now, on the Frida Zamba pool, making that usable, bringing it up to snuff, cutting the operational costs, and it will serve a greater majority of the population across a broader spectrum than the YMCA.
would the legislature even consider refurbishing or for those other two pools or our pool?
We could ask, sure.
I think that's something that we probably should each talk to the lobbyists about. What are the chances, what does that project look like? How do we package it? How do we make it appealing? So I would definitely encourage that to be a question when we each meet with them, if that's even plausible.
Just a question about what level of specificity do we need for, these legislative priorities? I.e., do we have a plan for refurbishment? Do we have a dollar value, things like that? If we're asking this because we're just adding this to the priority list now, what are the odds of it being successful if it's not at that level of specificity?
They're usually pretty general.
Okay.
We'll need a dollar amount.
Okay.
But beyond that,
So
they're
we're still in
usually
the realm
pretty
of being
general.
able to add this
We would
on.
list the types of improvements that we would do and include a dollar amount.
And again, that would have to happen pretty quickly.
Right.
So
We'd
that-
provide the history of the aquatic center, the maintenance that we've done over the years and that kind of stuff to support it, and then the request, for the improvement.
How about this as a compromise, Ray? We put the pool, the existing pool on as a priority, write it up as specific refurbishing that pool, and keep this one lower on the priority list. Because if we can get it, we can get it, because we're going to ask and ask and ask. If I had my way, I'd be asking for $240 million for our water treatment facilities.
Wastewater, yeah.
Yeah,
Are you good with that, Ray?
I'll go with that.
Is everybody good with that? We'll add that to the list of priorities?
I don't have a problem with that. I just have an issue with not really knowing what the priority, the order of priority is, specifically without speaking to the lobbyists about, and also, let's say we get money to refurbish Frida Zambo. What's the lifespan of that until we have to put more of our own money into it versus getting a brand-new YMCA? I don't know. I don't know what the chances are that this passes, the snuff test if we do repackage it because the governor vetoed it. I don't know the answers to those questions without speaking to the lobbyists. So it's hard for me to. I'm okay with entertaining it. I'm okay with it being on the table, so to speak. But I can't say that I 100% can put my name behind it until I have the answers to these questions.
I agree. I think we need more information about the alternative that you're proposing.
If we could, maybe this will help. City Manager, I know you mentioned there was an assessment done 2 years ago for Frida Zamba. When you send that, can we also get a projected lifespan? In other words, how much longer of a lifespan will we get out of this proposed refurbishment? I think that would help. Thank you.
Understood.
So we add it to the list or not? Or wait to talk to the lobbyists?
Yeah, did we come to a consensus on whether or not we're going to move forward with this today or not? Because if not, then, but we can still hash this out. We're going to have to come back to it. I think the timeline's going to be tight because at the end of the presentation, it says that we submit in January, February.
Yes, sir.
Into the appropriations process up in Tallahassee, right? So.
They haven't provided the date yet, but that's generally when it's due.
Okay.
So our current timeline is mostly for county?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So not having this in the county brochure, would that affect our ability to ask for it?
No.
In the legislative section?
No.
Okay. So we don't necessarily have to have it in our submission to the county?
No, sir.
And we can pick it up?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good question. Yeah, I think that's the way you move forward. Let's continue to discuss it, but not necessarily, because we don't have details yet. Really, there's no point in throwing a half-baked idea into the county brochure.
Okay.
Right, and maybe once you get the scope of information from the previous study, that'll help you with a decision.
Okay, so consensus is we'll leave this on there and we'll wait for further data to find out what to do as far as the other. And there's nothing that says we can't add it to the ask, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you're good with that, Ray? All right.
I have a choice.
Well, I'm just saying, if the big thing is, we already have the money for the design. And if Senator Leak is going to push a brand-new pool for us, that would be awesome. And it'll meet a lot of the needs that were addressed here tonight as far as aquatic safety for kids. My youngest son learned to swim here. You know, I believe kids should be able to learn to swim as early as 1 year old, maybe sooner. Is he already in the swim?
We're doing sink proofing.
There you go. So we'll come back to it. We'll keep this on the list, but we'll come back. Are you good, Ray?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
You know, Mayor, that reminds me, my daughter's oldest friend, she met at swim school when she was like 1.5 or 2, you know, and they're grown up together, you know, they're in high school together now. So that's pretty cool. Okay, moving on. The next 3 projects are all flood-related. The first one is in the B section. If you look on the map on the left, that lake is Bird of Paradise Lake. As you know, in times of heavy rainfall, Bird of Paradise Lake it spills its banks and it runs out into the adjacent streets. The city owns that parcel there to the left, adjacent to Fire Station 23. It's on the park's master plan as a future park. The staff is suggesting that we work with the legislature to get design and permitting dollars to build a stormwater recreation park similar to in the one that's under construction right now in the L section off of London Waterway. So we would have retention because this is directly connected to the London Waterway. And then also a passive park for the neighborhood to use as well. Any questions?
So just from a personal note, I live in this neighborhood, so Burbank, those areas during Milton were 3 feet underwater. So you know, and the stormwater system got it out within a few days, but there's definitely a need here for more capacity. Everybody on the backside of that lake, you know, feels that in their backyards and on those cul-de-sacs. So.
Yeah, I think this should be up on, towards the top of that priority list. My question is general about the next 3. So when we're looking at this one, the Woodland Subdivision Stormwater and the Seminole Woods Dry Lake and Weir Project, 2 questions. 1, which one of these affects the most amount of people? And 2, what do we think, when we look at all the things that the legislator considers, what do we think we have the highest chance of success in getting money for?
Okay. I'll ask Carl to help with the first question as he'll hopefully come up. But what I do know is that the Dry Lake project, we did a study. DRMP did a study for us there and evaluated if we made a change to the weir and if we dug out the Dry Lake, how many homes it would affect. And I don't know if Carl remembers that number, but it was part of the study. It's several hundred homes, I believe, in the Seminole Woods area. And also, if you remember, Seminole Woods Boulevard was closed for a few days. Well, part of it was closed for a few days, and we still had a lane closure for a few days as well. And all of this would help with that situation because that is the ditch that's just to the west of Dry Lake.
Yeah, and on this particular one that's on the screen, we haven't done a specific model of the capacity of this pond, but in our overall stormwater master plan, we identified how many acre feet of pond capacity we needed to add. London Waterway, I think, was adding about 1/3 of the needed additional capacity. So this will add to that. I mean, this London Waterway is very long, touches a lot of homes, a huge area. So I couldn't tell you how many homes it would impact or how many roads would not flood because we haven't done a specific model on the size of this particular pond. So you know.
For comparison, this is 28 acres. What's the London Park, do you know?
I want to say it's roughly about the same, because I think it was 50-something acres we needed initially, because you can't use all that 20 acres exactly, you know, so it'd probably be about another 1/3 if I had to guess. But we can look into it and see if we can get better information. I can have Carmelo run some analysis and see if he can give us some impact.
I just asked because we're not going to get all three, right? There's no way the legislator is going to say, let's make it rain, no pun intended, stormwater dollars. So if we have to pick one to elevate, which one should we pick?
What to kind of manage the dollars that we expect this year, right? Because the state went through all those storms, and we all kind of anticipate that a lot of money is going to go to those affected communities rather than less affected communities. We would suggest design and permitting for this project and the Woodlands project, which would be a lot lower threshold. You know, that might be $1 million or $1.5 million, maybe something like that. With the Dry Lake one is further along. We've done a study, we understand it, we know where the weir needs to go to. We would do design and construction dollars of that project. That would be a much higher number. But I don't know what that is at this point. I do know that the Dry Lake project would create 124 acre feet, which is about 3/4 gallons of storage. According
What
to
I
the study.
understand, once we get our foot in the door, so you're talking about, asking for the lower dollar amounts first for design and permitting. What I understand is, once you get your foot in the door,
Correct.
Then the legislator's more likely to give you more money in subsequent years to complete these projects. So it might be wise to go that route, to my colleagues. If that's what you're suggesting, design dollars for boroughs and Woodlands, I would agree.
Yes, that's what we're suggesting is design and permitting, right? Because permitting costs they take time too. So another reason why we're thinking about this from a design and permitting point of view is that we may be able to qualify for other types of grants once we have a shelf-ready project. HMGP, FEMA HMGP grants might be eligible for this, likely are. So, but you have to have a project ready, a shovel-ready project, right? So we get the design and the permitting out of the way, and this way, when a grant becomes available, boom, you can make that move. So that's one of the reasons how we're thinking about this.
So we're back on the table with all three then, because of that. Thanks for asking that question, because I was going to ask, dollar values versus homes affected. So that kind of clarifies that these two are just design. So I think are we in agreement that those are good to pursue?
For me, just to rank order them, I would say Woodlands, Burroughs, and Seminole Woods. That's the way I would, I don't know your thoughts, but that's the way I would rank them. Because the Woodlands, those guys got hit hard during that storm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we need to do something proactive on that one for sure. If you say that project down in Dry Lake is further along, try to get that money for up north, because those guys up there were hit hard too, around Bird of Paradise Lake.
Yeah, just to, give you some information on the Woodlands one, we did an analysis in that model, and there's 3 pipe crossings. The largest one is ditch 10 that has the biggest impact. It's probably going to provide like 85% of the impact that's the biggest restriction point. And that one is in our current stormwater loan, and it's out to bid for construction. So Woodlands is going to see some benefit from that particular project. That what we're asking for is some additional benefit in this other project that is in this request.
So do you feel the way I just rank order them is probably the best way to go?
Well, probably not. I wouldn't put Woodlands at the top only because we're doing ditch 10 capacity improvements now that is going to provide some big benefit to the Woodlands.
So you said it wouldn't.
I wouldn't. I'd move that down on the list.
So go with Burroughs, Dry Lake, and then Woodlands?
That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, so ROI on Woodlands is less because they've already got a project in queue.
Yeah, I understand that, but what kind of money value were we looking at on that one, on Woodlands? We got a dollar value, some kind of ballpark?
For this project, it's design and permitting. However, we also have to work with Flagler County on a parcel of land. So few variables.
Are you guys, everyone good with that? The rest of the council, are you?
Yeah, I think what Carl proposed is smart, being that ditch 10 is going to help the Woodlands area, and we still have some logistics, it sounds like, to work out with the county on that one.
That would be part of the request, right, to the legislature, is land acquisition if we needed to, if we couldn't work out some sort of a trade or something with Flagler County, so we'd do land acquisition in there as well. It's a piece that the county is just, has under land management right now. It's not a developable piece, but they do have a bigger piece of, we have lands around here too, but they have a bigger piece of uplands that would be more beneficial than our slivers that we have here and there. It also have less impact to less construction impact to the residents because it's south of the community.
Okay, so Burroughs, Seminole Woods, Woodlands. Is that
Yeah,
the
I think that's
consensus?
fine. This is going to get hammered out in committee up in Tallahassee anyways. I mean, it's just,
All right,
yeah.
all right, moving on.
Yes, sir. Now we're moving on to water supply. The city currently has 69 wells that serve the community. But as we look to the future, we're going to need additional water supply. This would be a request for a consultant to do a well field exploration in the untapped areas of the aquifer that are primarily to the north and west of the city. We've met with a consultant already. We've looked at some maps. We have an idea of where they are, but then there's the next steps of actually doing the identification of those areas, see if they will produce well, are they clean, and so on. And so this would be a relatively low-cost project to do well field exploration.
Would the landowner be okay with this piece? Have you
We're
communicated with- okay.
working on an agreement. Moving on is water treatment facility number 3, brackish treatment. The city has a consumptive use permit for 4.5 million gallons per day of brackish water. We currently have 5 monitoring wells in the ground, and we are monitoring for salinity and for effects to lakes in some western counties in central Florida. Once we move forward with going to full production wells, then we need the ability to treat that brackish water. And when wastewater treatment facility 3 was constructed, it was constructed with the ability to add trains, that's what these are called, add trains of treatment to it. So there would be some pipelining that would need to be done, and then the installation of the train. So this would be to treat brackish water in the future when the wells come online. The next one is one I think most everyone is pretty fluent in. Wastewater treatment facility number 1, advanced water treatment. So last year we made a request of the legislature for $35 million. Our final bill was for $1 million, and that was vetoed by the governor. The reason for the veto, he vetoed all water projects, all utility projects, because the new compact was being signed with the Seminole Tribe for sports betting, and the dollars collected from that compact were going into a fund. Well, the legislature put a lot of restrictions on that fund, and most of the water is going to most of the money is going to the Panhandle for those projects, and limited our ability to access those funds. Our ask last year was for a capacity project to improve the capacity at the plant. Our request this year would to convert the existing plant to advanced water treatment. As most of you know, that is part of the overall project of adding the capacity to the plant, is to improve the current plant to advanced water treatment and also expand the plant to advanced water treatment. So in this, for this request, we would ask for a portion of the overall project not related to capacity, thus, being careful of the previous veto.
When this says advanced water treatment, are we asking for a Cadillac when a Honda will do just fine?
No, regulatory, federal regulatory is heading in this way towards this type of treatment where your water quality at the end, when you get done processing it in, all of it, your water quality is better. So the final product that you have that is going into your rapid infiltration basin or is going into the spray field to recharge the aquifer or into our reuse plant, right, reuse project for irrigation, the water quality is a lot higher when it gets through an advanced water treatment process than it is now. So you're improving the water that you're putting back into the ground that you're then recharging the aquifer and you're drawing from in the future.
So you mentioned federal requirements. I would assume that if such a regulation comes on the pipeline, usually that comes with monies from the federal government to help that be implemented. Are we anticipating that? Do we know?
No, and I'm not familiar with
Okay.
that. We've had regulatory projects before that did not come with funding. The zero liquid discharge project that the city did in, I'll guess, the 2011, 12 timeframe, 10, somewhere in there, was a $10 million project that was directly related to new regulations that did not come with any funding. And I mean, it's been a very successful project for us. We've recovered an amazing amount of money, amount of water, but I mean, it was a $10 million project that the city had to bear the cost for a regulatory change that had to do with our wet water discharge permit.
Do we have any timeline for anticipated regulations for when this will become a requirement?
No, sir. But we're just starting to, we're hearing from the DEP that this is coming. So planning for it ahead before we have to do the project later. Also, it's part of the overall project, right, of advancing the capacity at the plant.
Does wastewater treatment plant number 2 have this technology?
Don't know, sir.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And the expansion that's going to take effect here in January and February, the additional 2 million gallons of processing capacity it'll be flowing through this new technology, so we already have it.
Yes, at the newer plant, that's correct.
Okay.
For the record, that's Alex Blake, the utility engineer.
Okay.
This advanced water treatment plant, for all intents and purposes, is a tertiary treatment plant?
It will stay the same as it is now.
Pardon?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. This is an example of an EQ tank or equalization tank for wastewater collection. You know that during times of heavy rainfall that we have a lot of I&I into our system, and we have really high plant flows. During Milton, in a plant that has a rated capacity of 6.83 million gallons per day, we flowed 18 million gallons through the plant for several days. An EQ tank, and they come in really big sizes up to 6 or maybe even 10 million gallons, helps you manage the flows into the plant. So instead of the plant taking the brunt of the flows, you fill up the EQ tank, the equalization tank, and then as you're managing the flows, you can start to let the flows down in the EQ tank, and it just manages the whole system better. The wastewater treatment plant 1 expansion project will have its own EQ tank. This would be another one out in the collection system to help manage overall flows through the sewer system.
Yeah, I think this is super important.
I agree.
And, the vice mayor and I both went out and saw where this was, was just such a huge issue. We had 24 pump trucks online just to try to drain, as much of this wastewater out of the lift stations because we lost power and things of that nature. I think this makes a ton of sense until we are able to actually move forward with this $240 million project, right? This gives us capacity to manage, during hurricanes. I think it's smart.
That's correct. The last one in water quality is I&I projects itself. We will identify some pipelining projects and some manhole panning projects. In the past, we were investing about $1.5 million into these projects annually. We've had to reduce that in recent years, so we're not getting as far as we would like to in reducing the infiltration and inflow into the system. And so the request will be some projects that we haven't identified yet. We're about to start a study, an I&I study. We'll use that study to help guide us on where the most important projects are. And the final one, we ran last year too, but it did not make it to a bill. And that is Historic Fire Station 22 conversion from a fire station to a community space. Because of you have a change in Florida Building Code occupancy code to assembly if you're going to have people visiting this building. And with that, you have to do significant building upgrades to it. And this request would be to complete those upgrades. So the construction dollars to do those upgrades that, well, one of you has previously heard about. Sorry. After that, this is the next steps and the schedule. So this is on your is a resolution for today to approve the priorities. I think you still may want to help us with the ranking of those priorities. And after that, we'll meet with our legislators before the session to discuss the priorities with them and start to get buy-in. Really, that's your opportunity to really explain to them the importance of each of them. We'll also be presenting at the legislative delegation meeting. That meeting hasn't been scheduled yet. But annually before session, your legislators come to the county and speak and take public comment. So that's when we'll have a presentation on our projects. And then in January, February timeline, we'll submit the House appropriation bills for the ones you resolve us to work on. And that is the end of my presentation.
Okay, I kind of went through and ranked order them, and you guys could, if you want, to write them down and see if you feel the same way. Everyone? All right, I got plant 1 is number 1. Plant 3 is number 2. The tank is 3. Well exploration 4. Old Kings Phase 2, Royal Palm 5. Intrusion 6. Burroughs 7. 8 Seminole. 9 Woodlands. 10 YMCA. 11, we're going to be adding the pool refurbishing. And 12 would be Fire Station 22 refit or preservation, whatever you want to call it.
And Mayor, if I can, one thing that wasn't included in the presentation, but it was in our drafts last week, was the supporting the ask for the additional animal shelter. I'm not sure why that didn't, it was in our drafts last week.
Yeah, the county didn't move forward with it.
Okay.
So we don't have something to support at this time. But if by consensus, if the county does move forward with it and you'd like us to work on it, we'd be happy to do that. Just let us know.
Well, we previously got consensus from this board, not this current board, but about a month or two ago, to just do a letter of support to the county, saying that, hey, you know, we're behind you all moving forward with this ask. I don't know that there's anything else that we can really do other than that. So, Mayor, with regards to your list, I agree that we need to definitely prioritize wastewater and water just water in general. But the wells, I have an issue with being number 4, and the reason for that is, it is my opinion, that a lot of these are on the land that's a part of the westward expansion, and we should be able to work with the landowner to fit a lot of that. So I don't know that I want to ask for more state appropriations to do well exploration this coming year regarding a lot of wells that I think are on that land.
Well, we could, I put it there specifically because it was water related.
Yeah.
So we can move it down. Where would you like it in that list of 12?
I mean, I know Fire Station 22 is probably a low priority for everybody. For me, that would be moved up, but I can understand why it's towards the bottom based on all of the infrastructure needs we have, but I would put it even below that. I'm not really sure, when you say intrusion, are you talking about the I&I? You said intrusion on your list.
Yes,
Was that the I&I?
Yes.
I would also
I'm sorry,
move.
I didn't look.
No, that's okay. I would also move that down as well, only because I think that we are able to put money towards that each year, whereas some of these other things, we just don't have the money at all. So even though I do think that it's important, we need to see if we can get some money for it, because we do have funding for it, and it's still kind of, you know, creeping along, that we're okay in that regard. Otherwise, I would look to staff to maybe discuss whether or not we need to move some of the stormwater up in with the water capacity. I don't know, you know, the need of stormwater versus water capacity. To me, I put them on the same level, though, infrastructure-wise.
Mr. Mayor, so my opinion, the wells, I think it's something we need to keep where you recommended it, just because it's water, right? And the wells that we have are, you know, were established and put in place, you know, by ITT. I think we need to start leaning into water capacity. What I don't want is to not quickly address this issue or lean into it, and then it becomes a problem before we know it. And so if we can get state funding for that, great, let's do it. If not, or if there's another way to get after it, that's fine, but I think where you placed it a priority is a good spot.
4. What did you want to, Teresa, what did you want to move up? You wanted to move something up?
I'm wondering if we should move up any of the stormwater.
Okay, so, well, Old Kings Road down at Royal Palms is a bad.
I agree. I think Old Kings Road, if it were my list, I would put the tank up and then Old Kings Road. I agree with you on that 100%. And then I would look at wastewater treatment plant 1 and then one of the stormwater projects, probably the Burroughs stormwater project. I understand why you ranked it the way you did. And listen, I mean, at the end of the day, what's in the top 4 isn't going to matter. It's really what we go to at the top 2. The top 2 are what are really going to matter. So this might be a conversation of utility. I understand why you made the list, but I think what we really need to be thinking about when we talk to our lobbyists and up here when we have this discussion is what are truly our top 2 and why?
And that would most definitely be Plant 1 and Plant 2 as number 1 and 2.
You mean 3?
I'm sorry, yeah, 1 and 3, 1 and 2, 1 and 3. So.
Another question to maybe pose to the lobbyists when we meet with them is whether or not any of these projects are good projects to get grants for rather than asking for appropriations, because we know that if there are grants out there for some of these, even if we do get the legislator to give us money, the governor's going to veto them. So again, we don't want to waste those asks if there are grants out there.
Vice Mayor, that's a really good point, because we don't know if there's going to be, the compact dollars are going to continue, right? That's an annual refilling of the bucket there. But what we don't know is, are the rules going to change? Are they going to open up the grants in a different way? Once some of the monies get funneled out to the panhandle and they make those improvements, will they expand the grant opportunities to more communities, like we've requested in the Northeast Florida Regional Council priority.
Let me wrap this up.
It seemed, Jason, that the legislator this year was very intent on giving money for roads. So do we have a better chance at getting Old Kings Road Phase 2?
I'm sorry, I don't know. When I spoke to the lobbyist last week, we still don't know what the general idea.
The theme
The theme
is, yeah, we need
is
to know what
gonna
the
be.
theme is.
Normally, the leadership comes up with a theme, and then you kind of know which buckets you're working with.
Heard it was
and-
going to be ag, honestly.
Ag.
That's what I've gotten wind of, is agriculture, which none of these fall into, which is very unfortunate. I don't know how we can even creatively put lipstick on that pig, but yeah, that's what I hear the theme is, but we need to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a question for the lobbyists too.
And I'm sure all that stuff's going to come out. I mean, they haven't produced a calendar yet, they're, probably the federal elections made a kind of a mess of the timing, I would imagine, and they're working through all that stuff now.
This is not just a Flagler County thing, Palm Coast or Northeast Florida. It's the whole state as far as water issues are concerned. So I'm hoping, I'm almost praying that they'll focus on that, because the amount of growth, we have this significant increase in growth is due to good governance and people wanting to come to Florida. So we shouldn't be punished for what the governor has pushed, and bringing more people here. They need to support us if they want us to keep growing and allow for all these people to move in here. That's my personal opinion. So I'm hoping these guys are going to do what we need done up there in the legislature. So, okay, let's try this one again. Okay, Plant 1, Plant 3, the tank, Burroughs, the wells, it just dropped at 1. Seminole Woods, Woodland, YMCA, Pool, Fire Station 2, and Intrusion. Everybody good with that one, or what's wrong?
Old Kings.
We missed Old Kings, yeah.
Oh, Old Kings was...
Got that after Burroughs?
Yeah, it may have just dropped it down 1, my bad. I think it just dropped it down 1.
That would be Old Kings Road 2A, correct?
2A, Royal Palm, yes, sir. So it just, Old Kings after Wells, is that good?
That's fine, yeah. I like I said, I think the top two are really what's going to matter, but I think it's good to bring this proposed list to our lobbyists when we meet with them individually and talk to them about the chances at getting the monies in this order, what we should really shoot for.
All right. So is everyone good with that? We got consensus? You good, Ty? Everybody
good.
tracking?
Mr. Mayor, you need a motion.
Say again?
You need a motion.
So we're good? Can I get a motion to approve the legislative priorities for, well, I'm sorry, we need to open it for public comment.
Well, no,
Do we?
You can get a motion and then get it second and then do public comment.
Okay.
But are we going to hold, though, of approving this before I thought we were going to have the opportunity to speak with the lobbyists on Thursday this week or whatever?
we have to approve moving forward, not necessarily with these priorities, but moving forward to put these in the booklet, the county booklet.
Okay.
Based on timeline. But as Jason said, we can change it, right? I mean, it doesn't, just because it's in the booklet doesn't mean it's, etched in gold.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example of that, is that, we had all of your priorities went in the booklet last year, but then when we met with our legislators, there were some projects that we couldn't gain support on, and they never made it to a bill, so we didn't work them after that, right? So the booklet is telling the community and the legislators, this is the important things to us, and then we're really going to work on the ones that they support and make it into a bill, and then we have to work those.
Okay, so we get them, let's go over it one more time so everyone's straight. okay, water plant 1, plant 3, the tank capacity, boroughs, the wells, Old Kings, Seminole Woods, Woodlands, the YMCA, pool, Fire Station 22, and intrusion. Everyone's good with that? Can I get a motion to approve the 2025 legislative priorities? What's wrong?
I'm sorry, just, will the motion please include the addition of the pool refurbishment, because it's not listed in the resolution right now?
We listed the pool. The pool is listed as item 9.
Yeah, I understand.
Order
The
that you
mo-
have to include that in the motion.
Yes, please, because
So
it has
I
to be.
motion to approve our legislative priorities as well as to include the pool refurbishment of Frida Zama.
I'll second the motion.
Public comments? Come on up here, 1991.
I find it disturbing, I'm sorry, Paulette Hatfield from the F section, and I've been coming here since 1992. I find it disturbing that you all have this list of 12 or 13 items, but no money ask is included. Is there a way to make that determination?
No, that comes later in the process. They're going to package everything, and then they're going to put a dollar amount on the items.
Okay. I don't know if you all are aware, but as of 4:38 this afternoon, the Flagler County Commissioners had a list of 12 items, which they reduced down to 4. They are not including an ask for the
Shelter?
the dog or cat facility also. They decided that they were not going to participate in that. So that's something else that you all might want to look at too. I just am a little bit confused about the monies because the different wastewater plant situation is going to be very big money. Is that correct? And it comes, and you're asking for only money from the state as opposed to providing an offer of our money from our budget, correct?
Our money already goes into that from our budget.
Okay.
And matter of fact, we are faced with a rate increase right now.
Right. So I just hope that you approve these, but you might want to consider from a lobbyist standpoint that having to focus on 12 items instead of 5 or 6 might confuse the governor as well as the lobbyists to be able to produce money for us. If you give them a long laundry list, they're going to just get overwhelmed. So you have to look at the fact that we need our water taken care of before anything. You know, the YMCA is wonderful. There's all sorts of other wonderful wish list things, but I think the wastewater and the water treatment plants is the most important. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's why we went through and rank ordered them, because that's where we're going to put our priorities when we speak to the lobbyists. Say, we want the money for wastewater plant or water treatment plant 1. That's our number 1 priority. That's why we went through this process to rank order, because last year that kind of wasn't done, and we wound up our priorities were not straight when the lobbyists presented it to the legislature.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you so
ma'am.
much.
I generally agree with the list that you are proposing because we are on an emergency with the wastewater, and in a future, next future soon for water, because with this growth, I agree that we have to keep in mind those water wells. I still agree here with the resident and with all the people that have spoken here and in the county. I'm learning now if it's true, and I don't know if Mr. DiLorenzo knows it for true. I think he mentioned that the county did not include on their list anything for a needed municipal shelter for animals. If that's true, the county didn't include that?
As of last week, I'm not familiar with today's meeting.
Yeah, well, the residences that they include today, it would be good that we need to include that to see if we can get something, start with something, because this problem has to be resolved. Also, I understand that until now, and we spoke in the past, is the Y wants to come here, but they don't want to have a pool for us. That's not the way. I mean, if we have a Y here, has to come with a pool or don't come, because why we should be funding a YMCA, we having a problem with no having the children learn safety swimming lessons, and we have these hot summers, and now we have no only one. I learned that the other pool is closed here too, for the use of the pump coaster. So what is this going on here? We need to resolve this right away, like Mr. Ray Stevens suggested. Now has to be resolved. Even if it's temporary, has to be resolved. And if you're going to request anything on the legislative priorities for a YMCA, they need to change and put in there, they show us a pool, and until now, they're not offering a pool. Oh, well, they come later, Mr. Jason DeLorenzo said before to the media. No, excuse me. We've been sold a bill of goods before, and we were duped. And the harbor side was one of those. And I can mention several others. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this and that, look at a beautiful project. And then they just go and build the condos or the townhouses, and everything else goes down the drain. No, if we're gonna ask for a Y here, has to come up with a pool from now, and the pool first. If they don't come with a pool, we don't need them competing with the local businesses. Already, there was somebody online that said, oh, if the Y comes here like in Texas, then I'm just get away from my gym membership and go to the Y. So is this the way that we're gonna host businesses here? No. So please, the whole list is fine with the Y. I'm a little concerned. We need aquatics. It is an emergency. I go for the suggestion. Fix the pools, do something, open the pools. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. And when I speak to the lobbyists, I'll specifically say a pool for the Y. Any other public comments? We've already got a motion. Call the roll. Roll call vote, Ms. Cook?
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we finished with that. Only took us Okay, let's move on to G5, resolution. You need to read it, council?
Resolution 2024-XX approving the execution of FDOT local agency program agreement for the design of Graham Swamp Trail extension.
Yes, good evening. Carl Cody, Director of Stormwater Engineering. This is for approval of a grant agreement for the design of Phase 2 of the Graham Swamp Trail. This is going to extend the trail from the trailhead at Old Kings Road down south behind the city spray fields, behind Toscana, behind Hidden Lakes, and connect with Lehigh Trail. This will then, provide future or additional connections south with the recently completed county trail, which goes south to and over 100. So this is for the design phase of the project.
And Mayor and City Council, you have an adopted Parks Master Plan that was established last year, and this is in line with Goal 1, which is invest in current infrastructure and aging facilities, specifically Objective 1.13, which is expand open space and parks, and Objective 1.4, which is explore opportunities to add trails for walking and bicycling. So this is a part of that established and adopted plan.
This is part of a 15-year plan. Back when Graham Swamp was originally built, this entire trail segment, which was what was constructed in this piece, was part of the original LAP agreement we had with DOT. However, those funds, due to wetland and the raised boardwalk, were unable to complete the whole project. So this is, Phase 2 has been on the DOT work program and priority list, seeking funding for a long time, and we have received our design money to move forward at this time.
Any discussion?
This is funded completely by impact fees.
Yes, it would be park impact fees. I think there's $65,000 city match, and, it's like, I can't remember the exact amount, around $600,000 by DOT. We'll be coming back to you with the actually contract with the design consultant, but there'll be impact fees, yes.
Perfect,
for
thank you.
city.
Motion? We need a motion. Any other discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution approving the execution of an FDOT local agency program agreement for the design of Graham Swamp Trail Extension.
Second.
Vera seconded it. Any discussion from the public? No discussion? Can you call a roll call vote, Ms. Cook?
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
G6,
Resolution 2024-XX approving a contract with Clearwater Solutions LLC for the WTP 1 well field expansion, equip 2 wells, and new raw water main project.
Mayor and City Council, as staff is preparing to key up the presentation, this is going to be a tag team effort from our city utility engineer, Mr. Blake, and our deputy director of utility, Mr. Peter Roussel. We wanted to give you an overview of our water supply management and challenges. It was a topic of conversation tonight as we looked at our legislative priorities. So the presentation highlights a little bit of that and then talks about the upcoming well project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Peter Roussel, Utility Deputy Director, and really I'm here tonight to try to give you a little bit of an educational piece on our water supply, seeing that the water supply has been kind of a hot subject for the evening. So I'd like to go into it a little bit. And next slide, Alex. I'd like to first start out with the definition of an aquifer. Basically, it's a water-bearing geological formation that's in the water that's confined by some type of a confining layer. And we utilize 2 aquifers, one being the superficial aquifer. Basically, that's withdrawing water from these surface water, usually going down about maybe 80 feet, typically. We also utilize the Floridan aquifer. That's a little bit deeper, as you can see by that graphic. And by the way, that graphic is a very popular graphic that comes from the St. Johns River Water Management District, some of their manuals and publications that they have. But the Floridan aquifer is a very important aquifer. A lot of people depend on this aquifer. It's roughly about 400,000 square miles. It starts up around South Carolina, goes in a diagonal pattern through Georgia, covers a little bit of Alabama, covers a lot of Florida, and even some of the Bahamas. Like I said, a lot of people depend on it. It supports public health. It supports economical growth, quality of life, and it's very important to maintain this aquifer. Next slide. This is a photo of an existing well that we have. This is one of the wells from the superficial aquifer. And I'm not exactly sure where this one is, but we do utilize 2 aquifers, like I mentioned, the superficial and the Floridan. We also are projected to potentially utilize some brackish water, and we do have a consumptive use permit from the district with an allocation to use 4.5 million gallons per day from the brackish. Those numbers up there represent the amount, the allocation amount that we can use from each aquifer. 6.85 million gallons per day for the superficial, 4.15 from the Floridan aquifer, and 4.5 million gallons per day of the brackish. If you can see this is an estimate that I decided to put up here that indicates approximately how much it could cost to develop and construct a well. It's typically anywhere from 900,000 to 1 million gallons, $1 million rather. And that cost could change significantly. This is kind of an old estimate. As you know, prices do change quite a bit in this industry. But those are the steps taken in order to get a well connected to our system. This graphic represents the large one shows our superficial aquifer and how many wells that we have, or how many production wells. Some of the colors represent different things, but most of what you're looking at are production wells. We do have some future wells that are plotted up on that map. The smaller view is the Floridan aquifer that serves water treatment plant number 2. And in total, we have 68 production wells. 51 of those were pulling from the superficial, and 17 were pulling from the deeper Floridan aquifer. A typical superficial aquifer well usually has a life expectancy of 20 years. But if you do have a good hydrological program where you test for your monthly statics, drawdowns, pumping levels, stay on top of it, and stay on top of the well rehabilitation program. Maybe monitor, there is something that we monitor called the specific capacity, and it's a small number, but if that number changes just a little bit, that's a good indicator that it's time to rehabilitate the well. And as long as you have a good rehabilitation program, you can make the wells last pretty long. We do have some wells out there that have been online since the late 80s, mid-80s to late 80s, so we're getting about 40 years out of some of these wells just by having a good program. But as what Jason mentioned tonight, we do need more raw water capacity in order to fulfill our requirements for our water treatment facilities. The next slide is an exhibit which Alex is going to talk about. We have 2 wells that we're trying to get connected into our system, and one is SW1 and the other one is SW2. Now you might think that those numbers are kind of weird because 1 and 2, but actually SW1 was developed and constructed years ago. I think it was 1976, where water plant number 1 was first being put online. And at that time, we also installed a backup, an auxiliary generator. And it just turns out that that well, SW1, was a little close to the field, to the underground fuel tank. So it was decided at that time not to use it. SW2 had a little bit of a different story. At the time in the 70s, we found out, well, not we, because I wasn't here at the time, but the screen was set in a location underground where it wasn't a good producer. Since then, we've reevaluated it a few years ago and found out that it could be a viable well. We could produce water, so we decided to take these 2 wells, assess them a little bit better, and develop them and put them online and bring them into water treatment plant number 1.
Good evening, Council. My name's Alex Blake. I'm the utility engineer of the Stormwater and Engineering Department. So Pete just gave a kind of a quick introduction of our wells and well program. What is before you for approval is a scheduled capital improvement project it's a construction project, which will essentially create the site. The wells have actually already been drilled, and typically how we do this is we have a hydrogeologist and a driller install just the well, and then the well has to be outfitted with plumbing and control panels and things like this, and a raw water extension, which you can kind of see up in this. Well, I guess my cursor doesn't show up there, but it extends, say, from SW2R into the plant because we have to get the water there. So anyway, the project is a construction project to do exactly that. It's to outfit the wells and to install a new raw water main, and for $891,000, which includes 10% contingency. It will increase the raw water supply to the water treatment plant, number one, by about 0.23 million gallons per day. That's 230,000 gallons per day. That is essentially running those full out. We provide water for 900 households. So that's pretty good. And then, well, I guess that was the end of the slideshow. Okay, so anyway, I have a few other presentations after this. So that's essentially it, is to award a construction contract to put these two wells online.
These 900 residences, are they current or future?
Either. There, as we've had dips in, or capacity challenges, if you will, during very dry parts of the season when people irrigate and such. Obviously, you know, we've expanded the reclaim system to offset the usage of using potable water for irrigation, but many parts of the old parts of the city still have irrigation off of potable. And what we experienced, in a couple of months, we hit something like 12 million, went up to 12 million. So it was a real drain on the ability to serve the existing customers, and we had to do some strategies to do that. So in those periods of time, what this would do is help shore that up. No, it's not. It could be for future homes or just to shore up what we have now, based on what the demands are. The demands come up quite a bit in dry seasons just because of the irrigation. The household use, just from a domestic standpoint within the house, doesn't really change that much. It's what's being used external to the house. So, I mean, I hope that explains what you're...
No, so I should have started maybe with the end game. My end game question is, I see that the source of funds is capital projects, but are we able to use any impact fees for this if it can go to future resident use?
Well,
I see Carl coming up and nodding.
Doing the north-south.
Yeah, this is in our water capacity capital improvement fund, and it is additional capacity, so we are using capacity dollars.
Okay, is it all capacity dollars, some, do we know what portion?
It's all capacity dollars because it's a new well, new lines.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
You said that SW1R, that was, I'm sorry, Peter, did you say something about contamination earlier?
No, not contamination, potential contamination.
It was close to a tank or something?
Right, yes, it was in real close proximity of a fuel tank that was installed in the ground quite a few years ago for fuel for a generator. So, and this decision that was made, of course, I wasn't here at all, but it was a decision that was made quite a few years ago.
Huh?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
And in addition to what Alex was talking about with these two wells, we are in need of raw water capacity. I do want to mention that. We do have other wells that are being developed and coming online, and in a very, within this year, one this year and maybe a couple next year. So we're really hunting and trying to go for the low-hanging fruit, trying to find as much capacity as we possibly can. Plant 1 is rated at 6 million gallons per day, but with our raw water capacity that's connected to that plant, we can only produce 4.0. So we desperately need more raw water capacity.
So just for our toolbox, it costs us $1 million to set up a well.
Typically, but that could change. That's for the basic setup, if you will. If we decide to install a well or drill, develop, and construct a well that's well away from the plant and it's not anywhere near a raw water line, then that means that we have to install the raw water line, which that's going to drive the price way up.
Okay. Got it. Clear as mud. Okay, any further discussion? Can we get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Public comment? Note that Ms. Celia said it's expensive. So can we get a roll call vote, Ms. Cook?
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Move on to item number 7.
Resolution 2024-XX approving a grant agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection for the Palm Coast Rapid Infiltration Basin land acquisition.
Okay, so this doesn't have a presentation, but that is, these were appropriated monies that when the state decided to not approve any of the utility-related items, they pushed some of that money over to Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And we applied for several things in there. I think Jason touched on some of that earlier. So what this is just they've decided to grant the city $2 million for land acquisition to install a future rapid infiltration basin. And what that is when the wastewater treatment plant, particularly one, but could be others in the future, or even plant 2, need to reject water. In other words, like during very hard storms, we're getting a lot of rain coming in, we want it to stay on site, the excess to stay on site or go somewhere. It gets treated to an extent, but you can't maintain that level of treatment because of the rate of flow coming in. So that's usually put out, it's treated and then it's put out to a field. And existing wastewater treatment plant 1 has a couple rib sites just south of it. And what we need to do, because we're going to be expanding the capacity of wastewater treatment plant 1, we're also expanding the capacity of wastewater treatment plant 2. We're looking for some acreage, right, to do this. So they recognize that need, so they've given us $2 million. So it's agreeing to accept that $2 million and the conditions that go with it. But it's purely for land acquisition.
What's the conditions?
Well, it's specified in the packet. It would be a long conversation.
No, I'm just saying as far as money from us.
There is no money. There is no match.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's all I need to know.
Yep.
Any questions, discussion? Can I get a motion to approve grant agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a second. Public comment, open for public comment. Any discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Cook?
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Moving on to 8.
Resolution 2024-XX approving a contract with GPS Civil Construction for the construction of the A1A Force Main Extension Project.
And this one, we do have a presentation. And so what this is essentially is a force main expansion along the North Peninsula. Now, the city's utility service territory goes beyond the corporate limits of the city. And in this case, it extends essentially all the way up to just south of Marineland, all through that A1A corridor on that North Peninsula. So the county had engaged the city a while back about creating a force main through there. There's no sewer at all up there currently. And there was a small piece built 2 years ago up to Jungle Hut Road, which I'll show you a map on that in a minute. So this is to award a project for a scheduled capital improvement project in cooperation with Flagler County for award of a construction contract and project contingency. And this is the first leg, if you will, of the intent to create a sewer backbone to serve the residents and businesses along that corridor and lateral communities that are potentially on septic right now. So it's an intent to not only provide for commercial businesses to connect on and not have septic, but for also in the future for neighborhoods when they can be converted. So the A1A force main interlocal agreement was formed about, I believe it was mid-2022. So Flagler County, utilizing the American Rescue Plan Act, also known as ARPA, funds to compensate the city for the cost of the project design and project construction as established in a previously interlocal agreement between the city and the county. So this project is fully compensated. There's no city dollars coming in it. We're tasked with managing the design and the construction. And they pay us with their ARPA monies. So, how's that going?
And the shortfall the county's paying, or if that's the memorandum of understanding.
Right. So just to touch base on this again real quick. So it's to extend a 12-inch force main. It's about 2.3 miles along the shoulder of A1A within the DOT right-of-way from Jungle Hut Road up to Malacompa Road, and a smaller force main section along Malacompa Road, approximately half a mile. That'll pick up their community center and the park for the county. The project will provide a force main capacity, as I kind of discussed a minute ago, for future customers, connections for county areas on the A1A Peninsula that is within the city's utility service territory, and for Flagler County Community Center. It also creates the first phase of the county septic to sewer objective. And here's a graphic of where the layout is. And there's a little bit of it that'll be on the west side of the road. The majority of it will be on the east side of A1A. That's within a state road right away, A1A. You can see it'll extend up to Malacompa Road and then go all the way to the end where the Hammock Park is. Now, the funding is, well, it's not completely straightforward, but I'll try to explain it. So in the interlocal agreement, there was a commitment to use the county's ARPA monies at $3.3 million. So this is a quick breakdown of the funding exposure, if you will. Some of it's already been paid. So design, grant compliance, the construction contract, which is what's up for award here, a project contingency, and the CEI, the construction engineering and inspection services are being floated by the county. So in doing all that as an anticipated total cost, it creates a shortfall of about $407,000. Well, the county had also received grant monies through another FDEP program to go towards a septic to sewer. So they've been actively engaged with the county has been actively engaged with the FDEP to utilize essentially $1 million of that money towards this part of the project. Okay, we call this phase one. So that's going towards this part of the project. So we anticipate that they'll have that money, and we'll be able to complete the project. If for any reason why that doesn't occur, the contract is set up as a unit price contract. So they would start at Jungle Hut, build north as far as they could until funding runs out. And then the rest of the project would have to be picked up in the second phase. So that's kind of how the thing is structured. So in other words, right now is, the county feels like they have the funding wrapped up with the DEP to do this. But just in case that $407,000 is not met, then we'll just do a deductive change order to the contract, and they'll just finish up to the extent of which funding is available. Okay? And so the council action is to approval of the construction contract with GPS Civil Construction, the contingency, and approval for the city manager to take any necessary actions and execute documents in order to utilize the additional $1 million from the county DEP grant for the project. And that's it.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here. So we've got the MOU. I mean, I think it's smart to have more than just a handshake with the county because we don't know for sure they're going to get the additional funds. So what I would recommend is a caveat to before we approve this project that this MOU gets executed and the interlocal agreement also gets executed, moving forward. I just want to make sure that we don't have to deal with a $400,000 shortfall.
So my understanding is that the interlocal agreement is already under work to be changed, and that should be sometime very soon.
Yes, that's correct. Both the interlocal agreement is going to be amended. I believe Ms. Johnson told me that the next meeting, they're going to approve it. And then the MOU is also contingent that both parties are agreed to sign those.
That is correct.
I just wanted to chime in. The ARPA funds have a requirement that those funds are under contract. I believe it's December 26th. So we are kind of under a time crunch to execute the contract with the contractor. We do, in our bid documents, when we bid this project, was stipulated that the limits of the project can be reduced if if the project's not fully funded.
That was my question does the contract allow us to do what you all are saying we can do, which is just, I guess, shorten it, so to speak, if the funding does not become available? And I'm getting the nod from legal counsel.
That was before we even drafted the MOU. That was one of the first things we looked at.
And there's no penalty associated with that?
No penalties or anything like that.
Okay, that was my first question. My second question, what if they get in there and, a lot of times, is a contingency worked into this amount?
Yes.
It is, okay. So even though there is a contingency, it seems to me that the MOU says that if there's a shortfall of this specific amount of money, the county will cover it. But if there's a further shortfall, can we write that in to where the county will cover that at all? Or is that even a possibility?
Right now, we included a 10% contingency. There is some hard pan and coquina shelf in there that was experienced in past projects when they did their stormwater improvements. So there is possibility there's going to hit something underground, that could raise some cost. It may be a point where we'd have to go back to the county. $1 million, we're short of $400,000. They asked to use up to $1 million with DEP in the supplemental agreement. So we feel there's a buffer in there that could cover some major things that we could run into.
It does say the parties agreed that they, referring to the county, will amend the ILA so that the county will cover the remaining cost of the project. I just want to make sure we're not limiting it to that $407,000 and change.
No, that was my main concern. No, we're not limited to just
And
that.
the MOU's intent was to make sure that the city is not responsible for any costs of this project.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Motion to approve?
Is this with a caveat or without a caveat?
Can you specify a caveat, Mr.
That
Gambaro?
this gets executed. I mean, I know we got till the 26th to make it happen, but it's paperwork. Let's get it done,
Well, by it being agreed tonight, then Ms. Johnson would execute it, and then it would be sent to the county to get executed as well. So that's part of the resolution, is it gets executed.
Yes, Councilmember Gambaro, if you'd like to include in a motion to execute the associated MOU that was included in your agenda packet, that would be fine as well.
Okay, so I move forward with this item with the MOU presented.
I'll second.
Got a second public comment?
Celia Puglisi, Palmco since 91. I've been kind of following this project for like the last 2 years or so, 3. And my question is, it's okay, and the city had no other choice because it's a Florida statute that the local largest utility is supposed to serve other cities or whatever around, is the obligation. We couldn't say no. But anyway, my question is this. I read it's just a 12-inch pipe all along A1A. All those businesses and all those people, where is all this poo going? To plant 1, which is already underserving us or overwhelmed? This is a big question that I have. I mean, where all this, from all of A18 all the way to Marineland, all of that waste is going to come on an only 12-inch pipe? To where? Plant 1? I'm concerned about that. We keep on adding capacity when the plant is already overwhelmed. It's been cited by DEP that we need to have it by 2028. 2028, they said, and it's going to cost us $240 million, as was quoted by administration already. So right now, when is that that flowing is going to be ready to come into plant 1? 1 year, 2 years? When do they finish this project? When it's going to be finished, that we're going to start getting all that poo on our plant 1? I think it's plant 1, because I don't think they're going to send it to plant 2, too far away. That's my concern.
All right, thank you, Celia. Alex?
Yeah, well, first of all, the size of the pipe, it's not a gravity main, it's a force main. So it's actually got pump energy going into it, and the main was sized for build-out. And yes, there are some areas through there that are built out. The conversion of the residential communities off their PEP systems to a collection system that'll go to the force main will be probably a 10 to 20 year process. The businesses along the route, of which are, it's really not that much compared to like the density in Palm Coast, right? So it's pretty low density. They'll come on over time, but it'll be limited, obviously. We're not taking more flows and putting the existing wastewater treatment plant in a worse condition. That'll be managed. DEP manages what they'll approve as far as a connection or so forth. So there's not an intent to add to the issues with wastewater treatment plant 1. That expansion is planned to occur in the near future. And we're looking at these conversions, taking a few years. I mean, the project will take basically a year, to construct in that sense. And we hope to be, quite well down the road as far as getting some construction activities going for Plant 1 expansion. So, yes, it's the size of the main will meet the needs, the capacity needs, through the entire peninsula build-out. So we're not really concerned about that. And as far as the phasing of it, yes, there will have to be some phasing considerations and some accounting for how much flows are we taking. That force main will pump into a pump station before it goes across the waterway and over to the wastewater treatment plant. So that's basically the answer to that.
And can it be diverted from one plant to another?
Not currently.
Okay, I just wanted to ask. Any more questions, concerns? We got a second already. Ms. Cook called a roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We're down to item H, consent. Any questions on any of these? Any discussion? I think most of these were budgeted from what I was seeing, right, for this year?
Yes, Mayor, all of the items were budgeted in your fiscal year 25 budget.
The only one that I had some questions about, and Mr. Rozelle, I did see your email come through, but this pilot testing services for $637,000 seems like a lot for some pilot testing. So if you could just kind of articulate why it is we need this.
I think the expense behind that project is related to the technology that we're going to try to utilize, especially the clear box. There's a lot of engineers, very qualified engineers that are tied to this project that are going to be utilized. They're going to be responsible for collecting all the samples, doing the complete analytics. We're not going to be doing that in our past projects that we have performed, going back, especially in the ZLD and Plant 3. We did a lot of that legwork. We paid for the analysis, and they can be pretty high, the cost to accomplish what we're trying to do. It can be very high. So I think that's a little bit, that's going to be that's worked right into that. We're not going to do anything. This is very specialized equipment. The ozone for the bypass and the granular activated carbon is going to be an extreme benefit for that plant because, like I mentioned before, it's a 6 million gallon per day plant. And if we continue to develop more wells, which we are in the midst of doing that, we're going to be looking at bringing more water into the plant. But because of the quality of the water, it's going to have to be treated to a high degree. And it's going to also benefit us in capacity, not just quality, but also capacity, especially with part of that project is we're going to be increasing the facility. We're going to be bypassing 30% of our rated capacity, which will bring us to another 1,800,000 gallons per day. Added to the 6 million, we'll probably end up re-rating the plant to 7.8 million gallons per day, which will help us with our community needs by supplying water that we have to supply.
So when I think of pilot study, I think of something temporary that's supposed to give us information to ascertain whether or not we need to take future steps. What is this a pilot study of?
That is correct. Yeah, a pilot study basically is a small scale unit of some type. Like we'll have the clear box. The full scale clear box will fit inside each one of the filter cells, filter modules. But before we do that, we need to take a side stream from the treatment facility, hook it, connect it to this pilot study, and it'll be about 3 months where we'll be taking samples and analyzing it. Not, like I said, not us, the engineers will be doing that, Wright and Pierce, and they'll be making adjustments, trying to fine tune things, and trying to come to, to get the best out of it, and to see if it's going to be feasible. Same thing on the other side, the 30% bypass. That's going to be where we're going to apply the ozone and potentially the granular activated carbon.
So I'm sorry, I'm just having a really hard time. So for 3 months, we're paying $637,000 for a pilot study on this one clear box. What is it that what data are we looking for?
Well, number one, even if I wanted to change a chemical in one of the treatment plants, I can't do that. I have to get permission from the Florida DEP. And anytime we decide to change the process in any way, add another process into the system, the DEP is going to pretty much force you to do some pilot testing. First, they'll probably do some bench testing first, laboratory work, and then that'll translate into a pilot test. So that's almost a regulatory requirement for us to perform this.
And this is a necessity?
It is a necessity. We've done this with almost all of our projects, in our water treatment projects, especially the ZLD, plant number 3. We did the same thing going back in 2015. We did this with ozone for a different purpose. This is going back when we were trying to take our concentrate waste from plant 3 and blend it with water plant number one's raw water and just use that byproduct as a drinking water.
Did this
And,
go out for bid?
the initial sustainability project did go out for bids. This one here, I believe, we're just doing a work order for this. With the Wright and Pierce, the same company that actually did the full-scale sustainability project that they've been working on for the past year and a half.
Seems like a lot. So, I mean, are we sure this is a reasonable price for 3 months' worth of work? Because we didn't go out to bid, we really don't have anything to compare it to.
I look at the benefit of it and what we're going to get out of it in terms of the residents that live in and around that actually get water from water plant number one. I believe that they'll end up with a better quality, less complaints, less color, organics, less organics lead to color. So that's what we're targeting. We're trying to reduce that.
I don't disagree with you there. I'm not disagreeing with the water quality and the satisfaction of the residents. What I'm asking is there another company that would do it for $200,000 less? I don't know, and we didn't go out for bid, so I don't know how we know the answer to that question.
That is correct. I don't either. We would have to revert back to, trying that avenue. I mean, we could do that if we're forced to do that. We just didn't do it on this one because we had full faith in this Wright and Pierce engineering firm. They did a wonderful job with the sustainability project. They did a lot of work with us to come to this conclusion, and we looked at it in terms of being a successful project for the city for increasing capacity, which we desperately need, especially at that plant. And I just think it'll be a benefit, but I did not go off of bids on this one, to be quite honest with you.
So are we under any type of time constraint? So in other words, if we went out
Yes.
to bid, could it hurt us?
It would delay the project, I would think. Yes, I would say so.
I just wanted to add in, this is an engineering study analysis, so it falls under the CCNA rule, as in terms of you're not awarding it on price, you're awarding it based on qualifications.
Sure.
So you couldn't necessarily put out for price bid, you could put out for qualification bid, and then they were selected as doing the first step of the project as the highest ranked firm. So they did the initial analysis and came up with the alternatives. They did the assessment, the study on the plant one, and they came up with these recommendations on doing pilot studies to increase capacity at this plant. So the next step in that process was to actually do those pilot studies. I think originally there was 3. We narrowed it down to 2, I think, as
Yes, we
being
did.
the ones that are going to be most cost feasible to help increase capacity. So it's just a continuation of the top-ranked qualified firm of the next step in the process. So, the alternative, if we don't like their fee per CCNA, we would say we can't agree on your fee. We're going to go to the next ranked firm from the original advertisement and then try and negotiate a fee with them.
Okay. And I understand we can't pick based on the bid amount for this particular project, but I guess I don't want to set a precedent with contractors that we hire that, hey, if we hire you for this phase, we're automatically going to hire you for the next phase, because then there's no, in my opinion, there's no motivation to be competitive as far as the bid is concerned. So
We had budgeted $1 million because we originally thought there was going to be 3 pilot studies, and we're at, 685. So we're about 2/3 of what we anticipated this cost of the
But is
pilot
that
study
with
to
one
be.
pilot study or 2 out of the 3?
This is 2. We're doing 2 in this proposal.
Okay, so this covers both.
Yes, it does, correct. It covers it, all of it, yes. And there's some other things that the firm will be working with us on an operational level. They're just going to be looking at how we operate that facility along with instituting these pilot studies. There's certain things that they're looking at that's kind of part of that. I don't have an example, but there's quite a bit more to it than just this 3-month pilot study.
Okay, well, hopefully this conversation helps to motivate them to remain competitive?
I think it will be. We did have a pilot, a study going back with Plant 2, and this goes back to 2019. We did a lot of the work ourselves on this particular one, and we ended up saving, we found out that we didn't need this one particular chemical that we were spending $160,000 a year on, and we completely, as a result of this pilot study that we did quite a few years ago, we completely stopped that chemical. And so we saved quite a bit of money on that particular project. So some of these studies are very beneficial.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to be clear. So Wright Pierce is an IDIQ, my term, from the federal government side, an on-board company with us right now. They're a list of, how many? 3 from the original advertisement?
They're one of our continuing service consultants for utility engineering.
Okay, and I just want to make sure, city staff has determined that the cost of the services is reasonable and fair and are consistent with these types of services for a project. You stand by that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on consent items? Motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
We have a motion, second.
Second.
Seconded. Public participation?
Celia Puglisi, Banco since 91. My question here is this, thanks for watching the cost first to Councilwoman Ponchieri and back in Mr. Gambaro. My question is this, our water, this belongs to the utility water, right? What we pay our fees every month, correct? What is being presented for approval. So I guess it comes out of the enterprise fund, correct? This type of expense? Okay. So you approve what is to be spent in our enterprise fund. Okay, just wanted. Thank you.
No further public comment. Ms. Cook, call a roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Move on to item I, final public participation. Anyone?
Eddie Lang, R section. I actually just have a comment about, and something that's happened probably a month ago. I don't know if any of you have driven down Rimfire, and we paid for a paving job that was done on Rimfire. You know, when we get things done at our houses and things aren't right, we don't pay or we get it corrected. That road, I mean, you know, I used to work in paving up north. That road is probably the worst road paved in all of Palm Coast, and it's brand new. The lines are crooked. I think the guy was drunk when he was making the lines. I mean, and it doesn't even look like it's finished, because usually when you turn off of Belterre to Rimfire, and there's got that one section where it's got that big painted section right there, usually there's lines across. They didn't even finish. They never put them there. I mean, do we pay for this? I mean, is this all, do we write the check and say, thanks for coming? Because the whole road, I mean, and you live in our area, so the road is horrible, and it's disappointing that we paid for this. This is and we're worried about infrastructure, but we did a road, we paid a company to do a road where traffic was miserable that whole time, because they were shutting down just random things at a time, but the road is horrible. And it's a new road in our city. I mean, if we're gonna pay for these things, we should want the best, right? So I suggest if you haven't driven down Rimfire, you'll see it. You know, I'm not complaining about like cars going over the yellow line and you see a little yellow streak because they went over it when it was wet. I mean, that's gonna happen sometimes, but usually it doesn't, because it dries quick and they have it blocked off for a minute. But the road, the the overall finished product
It's horrible.
wouldn't be something that I would pay for. And I'm sure you already paid for it, but they need to come back and I mean, they have to do it over again, they gotta do it over, but it's not something I would have paid for. And I've been waiting weeks to say this, but everybody's got so many other things to complain about, I didn't wanna jump in. But
Thank you, sir. Carl, what you got?
I can respond to that comment. We haven't paid them for the work, and we have put together a long list of deficiencies.
yeah.
Got a punch
And-
sheet?
And we have met in the field with the contractor, and we're working through those issues. Lots of times, they'll put down the temporary striping for 30 days and then not do the thermoplastic until after the 30-day burn-in phase, and they'll come back and do the full striping of, all the hash marks and whatnot that are necessary. But they do, there is some it was very poor workmanship on that particular roadway. Royal Palms was the last road they did. They corrected their quality control, and that came out much better, but they do have some work to correct on rimfire.
Who's they?
It's
It
massive.
is Massey Construction was a little bit on this
All
one.
right, we need to hold them accountable and follow up with us to make sure that, when should it be corrected and final product? What's the date? We got a date?
Well, we haven't paid them for the work that we haven't accepted, so.
No, I'm saying, when will it be complete?
The deficiencies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll have to follow up with you on that. I know there were some on-site meetings going through the list, and I think they were waiting for them to respond, and I don't think that happened last week with the holiday, so I'll make sure we provide you an update.
And I'm good if this city never does work with that company ever again. That's how terrible of a job they did. I speak for everybody that goes up and down that road.
And it's Massey?
Massey, they're out of
Massey
Mormon,
paving?
yeah.
Okay. Note that, city manager.
Understood.
That was it. What you got, Celia?
Well, Celia Puglisi, 91. Maybe it's the same company that did that, like a block of repaving in North Florida Park Drive. That is a horrible thing.
Is it the same company,
Horrible.
Carl? It's not the same company.
Horrible. Well, they need to fix it, because when you take that section of Florida, besides all the blight on Florida Park Drive, that I wish it would be resolved, and we pay $163,000 for two beautiful design and traffic studies for two beautiful traffic calming islands that will add some attraction to that blight of the road. They paved, it's a shame what they did in that road. They dug a huge, wide repair of utility trench, and it's like 3 feet, 4, I don't know, and you drive that, it's ridiculous. How do they treat us? Administrators, how do they treat us, taxpayers? We are all put on the back burner, and they do these terrible jobs, and we have to deal with this. It should not be this way. People need to be heard, and I understand, because when I drive Florida Park Drive, it's horrible. The other day online, a motorcycle says he almost lost control of his bike riding Florida Park Drive. Go and ride it, and look how horrible it looks. It is terrible. They allow this, the FPL on Florida Park Drive. Other than setting up these pole strays, you go close to the Fern Canal crossing, and a light pole is like this. You enter there, it's pure blight. We need to have respect from the utilities. I requested from our public works and from from the code enforcement, that it's an AT&T old box AT&T, full of cables. The door have fallen, it's heavy, I cannot even try to put it back. It looks horrible. I've been told by Public Works that AT&T is supposed to go and take it out. They don't take it out. It looks horrible, it's heavy, children can get their hands on those cables. It is on the Clubhouse Drive and the corner of Carson Lane. It is horrible, and on the right-of-way of the golf course. So please, the golf course is to remain for us, because we have thousands of houses around the golf course. And if you ever close or sell that golf course, you cannot do it because of our zoning laws. We're going to have a problem. You need to get your hands, Mr. Mayor, on the way they manage the golf course. Believe me, I see it every day. It's not well managed. You need to have control on why we pay people to work for us. You need to get involved.
Yes,
because
ma'am.
that golf course has been checked before, and there was mal-worked, mal-managed. And the person in charge was fired years ago, okay, to my asking. So you need to see what we pay for management and what the people put on board for what we pay. Thank you very much.
Hey, Celia, what was that intersection? You said it was Carson?
Carson Lane, north
Carson
Carson Lane access, because Carson Lane has north and south access. We have children living around.
Okay.
And
Could we get someone to check that?
I will appreciate
Someone from
it.
utility crews, check it
I
and see
have
what's
the
going on?
picture on my phone. If you want to see it,
Send
I
it
can
to
show
me.
it to you.
Send it to me,
I'll send you
Celia.
the picture.
Thank you, ma'am.
very much.
Any more public participation? We'll move on to item J, discussion city council matters not on the agenda. Anyone?
I want to thank staff for an awesome tree lighting. I feel like it gets bigger and bigger every year, better and better. And also, I heard that Feet to Feast was bigger than it's ever been, so kudos to staff on that as well. You guys are doing a great job for the community, and I appreciate it, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to say on record that the Florida Gators beat the Seminoles this past weekend.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
And UCF earlier this year, but it's all good.
Oh, now we're fighting. It's fighting words.
You got anything, Ray? Okay, I told you I wasn't going to do this, Marcus, but I have to because with me being the figurehead of the city, I have an obligation to the Constitution, the state constitution, and the city charter. So what I would like to ask among the members of the city council, if we can come to a consent agreement to have our city legal counsel draft up a formal opinion regarding the appointment of the District 4 seat. And just for us to be covered, because there is legal questions to it. And I just want a formal legal opinion from you to the city council regarding that appointment. Can I get consent on that?
Are you referring to the interpretation of the charter?
Yes. What's gonna cover us in court if we go to court, if someone sues us? I want a formal opinion from our council regarding the appointment. Nothing against anyone, I just want to make sure. I don't feel comfortable, and I feel like I would be skirting my duties as the mayor if I didn't ask for a legal opinion on the appointment. Does everyone understand what I'm saying?
I think if the specific request is for a legal opinion regarding our attorney's interpretation of the charter with regards to appointment of that seat, then yes, I think that makes sense.
Can I get consent for that?
Well, what's the issue?
I guess my only question is with that opinion, what does that change?
Right.
Nothing.
Well, if we get
Mr.
moving
Mayor,
forward.
if I can add something, so I will say that I already did give an opinion to the previous council.
Yeah.
It is on record, it is through emails and stuff like that. If this new council does want me to do that again, I'm happy to do that.
I would just like a formal written opinion from you, if that's, if everyone will agree to it.
But you gave a written opinion, and the council took action, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I
there-
question whether this council really has anything to do with that.
Well, if the city is sued, and it's my obligation as the head of the city to make sure that everything was done properly, and I just want a formal legal opinion of the decision and the interpretation of the charter.
Can you forward the mayor your previous legal finding, recommendation, whatever the case might be?
It's in meetings.
Yeah, it's in minutes.
It's in meeting notes, and so I will tell you, Mr. Mayor, what you're asking for will not change anything. I'm happy to do that, but that's my law firm's interpretation of advising this council of options, and at the end of the day, it does not change anything. Only one person could change something, and that's a judge.
That's what I want to make sure, that we did we dotted our i's and crossed our t's. It's nothing against you, Charlie. It's about the process and upholding the law, from the Constitution to the state constitution to the city charter. You know, we don't have to get into, you know, a back and forth about it. I would just like a formal legal opinion of that decision and the interpretation of the charter.
I'm almost curious, though, Mayor, if that opens us up to further vulnerability, because obviously we've already taken steps based on legal counsel's opinions previously and suggestions, advisement previously. So if now a memo is done that we have to pay for, by the way, hourly, are we opening ourselves up to that being attacked when I think there was no violation of the charter? That's just my opinion. But I'm wondering if we're exposing ourselves unnecessarily because we're asking for this extra document when we've already taken steps based on the advisement of counsel.
Well, like I said, I don't want to get into my personal opinion on it, but I just would like that because, well, I guess I can give my personal opinion. I stood up during that council meeting, and I feel that the charter is pretty cut and dry. And the way it was done, we don't have to get into a long battle back and forth on this, but I would just feel more comfortable if we have a formal legal opinion of that, because I spoke to a federal judge today, and his opinion is quite different than yours, Marcus. So I would just like a formal written opinion from you as our attorney. That's all I'm asking for.
I think you're drawing fire, Mr. Mayor. I think you're drawing unnecessary fire. I think, you know, section, you know, paragraph 7E1 addresses it spot on. And again, I wasn't part of that decision process. I was just an applicant.
Yes.
But I think this council should stand by the decision that was made previously. And if there's a challenge to it, then there's a challenge. But I think we're unnecessarily drawing fire to this organization and to the stability of this council. And I don't give my consensus on this one, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry.
I think that we're pushing the envelope here, shooting from the hip. If I think we get the legal opinion, if in fact somebody turns around and sues the city, doing so, getting a legal opinion kind of, as I said, pushes the envelope. It's an indication that we might be expressing some sort of guilt here. I would wait and see what happens. We can always get a legal opinion.
Well, if his legal opinion is solid and as Marcus told me today, it would hold up in court, or yesterday, it would hold up in court, there should be no problem drafting a legal opinion.
That's like saying a defendant who isn't guilty should have no problem testifying when we know on cross-examination he's going to be picked apart. Yeah, you don't have my consensus either. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Okay. Well, so be it. Any more discussion from the council? Motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, you still got to ask Ms. Johnson.
I'm sorry. City Manager?
As part of your agenda packet is the emergency and sole source purchases, if there's any questions. Okay. Just a couple of updates. You all received a invitation to participate in the upcoming utility strategic plan, and we're also facilitating a community outreach part of that, which is hosting Wateropolis, where it gets our residents engaged in the future budgeting and priorities of the utility. We're hopeful some members of the audience tonight might want to participate in that, and if they are, then they can see Ms. Kershaw and she can get you registered. We know that public participation is very important for building out the future success of the utility. And then I received correspondence from Flagler County saying that we have a seat on the Northeast Florida Regional Council that they pay for. There's one seat for Palm Coast, there's one seat for Bunnell, and there's one seat for Flagler County. So just need to know who from City Council would like to participate in that seat. And that can be a part of a future discussion if we need to let you guys think about it, and you can give me direction at the next council meeting. And then just echoing Ms. Pontieri's comments about our wonderful events. It is the holiday season and lots of joy throughout the community. We do have the upcoming Starlight Parade and the Palm Coast Boat Parade that will be the following weekend. So lots and lots to celebrate in Palm Coast, and that concludes my comments.
Oh, speaking of, I'm sorry, I had one thing.
Yeah.
So in City Hall, we have the Christmas Come True tree that has on it a lot of tags. You can go get a tag and purchase a gift for a child in our community in need. And then you just put the gift right back under the tree. It has to happen by December 6th, though, is the deadline to get the gifts in. There's small things from just a couple pairs of pants for a child to larger things like a bike. It's something very cool. It's local. It stays in our community. So it's just a really good initiative that happens every year. So I encourage anybody who has the ability to give back to please do so to our community. Sorry.
No, that's good.
The utility thing, is that on the 10th or the 11th?
It's on the 11th.
It's on the
in
11th.
the evening here at City Hall.
And it's going to be here, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's it, City Manager?
Yes, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
We're adjourned.